From the gas pump to the grocery store, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much-needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/switch. That's mintmobile.com/switch.
Hello, EggChasers. It's the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that generally doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. Let's live up to that mantra a little bit more. Let's do it.
Absolutely do that.
Let's do that. I'm Tim in the Rugby Dungeon with JB.
Hello, Tim.
I'm with Philip.
Hello, Tim.
JB, you'll be pleased to hear, is sockless for his OnlyFans sideline hustle.
Exactly. Really building that up for the end of the podcast.
Stop talking. Like, you can do what you want. The podcast is going nowhere.
Exactly. The podcast will stay.
I'll take applications even at contact@eggchasers@gmail.com.
Exactly. JB is one of a kind. How could we possibly replace him?
Yeah, quite. Anyway, what a positive, uplifting way to start the pod. Thank you very much for listening. We're, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe is one way you can reward us if you appreciate the fact there is always a rugby podcast for you every Monday, 52 weeks of the year, and very nearly 10 years. It was the 9th of September 2013 when we uploaded our very first episode.
So the kickoff of the World Cup will
be
the
8th.
Oh, look at that.
They messed it up.
Well, I'm back in prominence. One of my tweets was read out on Rugby Tonight. Don't know if you know that.
I saw
one about junior doctors, was it?
It was not one about junior heroes. Every one of them a special hero in my heart, for the record.
I did see on one of our many rugby chat WhatsApps that it got read out, but I didn't actually see the tweet. So,
well, I assume it's my tweet about Chris Ashton. I don't know. I've not seen Rugby Tonight because it's like a lottery. You might get one of the best demonstrations of centre play you've ever seen, or you might get a lecture about why we can't call the ex-Chiefs from some Timpo academic.
Well, it was fantastic today. And let me ask a question. What do you think, because we got the answer to this, did you see it, Phil?
I didn't see it.
No, good. No. Brilliant. We can do this. What would you guess Henry Arundel's back squat, 1 rep max is?
Oh, I think 210.
Yeah, I was going to say 200. Maybe more than that. He's got big, powerful thighs, and he's relatively short, low centre of gravity.
Do you know, I'm not interested in his 1 rep max back squat. I'm interested in his max box jump.
Yes, I'm with you there. But the two are kind of related.
Yes, they are. Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah. My
instant reaction would be north of 200.
So give me a number.
Well, let me just go 200, because that's what I said first. You said 210.
It's 230.
Yeah. Tidy.
Not bad.
He's got out.
But what's his body weight?
And he's 20.
Probably 90 kilos.
Is he 20, 21? Yeah. But the point is, he's got a lot of... He's probably only been lifting weights proper for like 3-4 years.
Yeah. I don't...
like properly.
I don't know. What do they get them doing in these private schools? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see, can't you, why... I wouldn't say it's problematic, but why the lads from private schools have such a massive advantage over normal lads.
Yeah.
Because if you're 20 and you can already do 230, that didn't happen by accident. Unless you are an incredibly knowledgeable, dedicated 18 or 16-year-old.
And have the facilities to do that.
And have the facilities. And have the guidance.
The guidance is a big thing. If you try and do that without the right people around you and without building up, you're going to get injured as a 16-year-old.
So there is like a culture in US sport, isn't there, where you go to the gym, you do your lifting, you have the coach of the football programme. I mean, that's slowly been eroded. There's no such culture in the UK.
Outside of in state schools, quite right. Yes. Outside of private schools, there absolutely is.
And in South Africa, there's a different sort of culture as well. On top of that,
additional culture
to enhance
supplements.
That culture. Supplementary to that culture.
Supplementary culture to that culture.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that happens in the UK and South Wales
Have you heard,
and other parts of the world as well.
Have you heard James Haskell's story about when he was in school?
Which one? I've definitely heard some stories about when he was in school.
Not that one. About how he got so big, effectively. Like, his protein intake was basically, I think, if I've got this right, and correct me if I haven't, but he had a personal trainer come in, but this personal trainer would pick up loads of, the roast chickens that they have on the
rotisserie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he'd pick them up at the end of the day, so they're like cut price, and then just feed them to Haskell and let him lift. I mean, at that age, that amount of protein, that amount of lifting, and if that's what you want to do as a living, like become a professional rugby player, why not?
Yeah.
I've got. Louis's got himself doing it. He was. I took Louis to. We go to CrossFit together, and we go and lift together sometimes. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Well, it's a beautiful. Anyway, he was devastated that he couldn't match his deadlift PB, and he got on the scales and he was 5 kg lower than he was.
Oh, interesting.
Because he just does so much rugby 3 times a week across all the rest.
He needs to get his calories up then.
Yeah, so now he's got the MyFitnessPal and he's tracking his protein and like getting the.
You're gonna buy him protein for his birthday and Christmas.
It's costing me a flipping fortune in chicken breasts, I can tell you that much. My God.
I wish I'd have known that when I was 16, because all I wanted to do is play rugby. Like, I was absolutely obsessed with rugby, but like no idea of nutrition, like zero idea of what to eat.
It's funny because a friend of all of ours, Wilco, who coaches rugby up at Lancaster Grammar, he was saying some of the lads there, they're obsessed with the gym, but they're all they underappreciate the calories that they need as 16, 17, 18-year-old very active lads, and they're like trying to cut themselves to 2,000 calories a day because they don't want to get fat. And it's like, at your age, with your activity count, with your testosterone, more is better. You just need to be eating more.
And if you eat the right stuff, you're just going to have, if you do eat excess, you'll just have very expensive piss.
Yeah,
exactly.
Protein-laden piss, basically. That's it.
Yeah.
All the amino acids will break down. Anyway, enough nutrition chat. Henry Arundel.
Just on Arundel.
Great legs.
Just on Arundel. How heavy do you think he is? Because I just said 90 kg would be my...
Yeah, I would have guessed that 87, 88.
How tall is he?
He's 6 foot.
Okay, he's big.
Oh, he's listed as 6 foot, but I would say that's a generous... I'd have him... Eyeballing him, I'd probably say he's 5'11".
Yeah, so 90 kegs is what, like 14.5 stone? Just over 14 stone?
Yeah, something like that,
yeah.
So he's on basically...
With those legs, definitely.
He's not quite 2.5 times body weight squat then.
Well, so that was my eyeballing him at 90 kg, but what would you say?
I would...
You said 87?
I would have guessed. Had I...
I'm going to say he's bigger.
High 80s.
So I would say, like you, 90. I'm going to say he's bigger, 6 foot. With that kind of squat and those sort of legs and rump. Give me 100 kilograms.
So he's listed between 96 and 98, which is...
Big boy.
Yeah.
For his height as well.
Surprising for his height. But his legs and rump are massive.
Now, if you're into watching men and women, I might add... I'll just leave it there.
Full stop.
Yeah, full stop. Lifting.
I've got some websites for.
Well, this is a website. It's not. It's a YouTube channel. Watch House of Weightlifting for some just amazing clips. I mean, if you want to see multiple body weight lifts, that's where you want to be. Great YouTube.
Have you seen? I'm going to jump on and say just quickly here mention Physical 100, a show on Netflix. Have you watched that? This Korean show. There are 100 different body type people apparently, and it's they do different challenges and whittle it down to one. It's quite fun. It gets a little tedious, but the awesome one that you would love is I'm talking to JB when I say you would love it. Is they have this battle where there's a ball and it's 3 minutes in a like kind of an arena, and it's the person who's holding the ball at the end of the 3 minutes.
Amazing. Have you seen the
Brutal.
clip of South Africa training and they've got to rip the ball off each other?
Yes.
That's a cool game. Very cool game.
There's one... I'm trying to think where I watched. I think it was an All Blacks camp years ago where they had guys in... It's not competitive, but it's just a really interesting thing to do. They had guys in on all fours, but not on your knees, feet and hands, and your mate's on your back. So one person, feet and hands, mate's on the back, and the mate has to go round your tummy without touching the floor and back onto the back.
Oof.
that for both individuals, that's a tricky skill.
You can do that, and I've seen that done in our CrossFit gym just with the kids when they do the kids teenage CrossFit or whatever, getting them to do that around a weights bench.
That's very cool. So, okay, we've done nutrition, we've done kids' nutrition, we've done house of weightlifting.
Yes.
Henry Arundel's weight. Any rugby occurred this weekend?
Yeah, well, do you know what? Rather than... Let's do it in a slightly atypical way,
okay.
and let's just have a discussion on a individual decision before we actually talk about any specific games, because I think this is an interesting talking point, and this can broach out to a bigger talking point, which Rob Baxter opened the door for earlier this week. And when we're looking ahead to the Rugby World Cup with the TMO bunker idea that's been floated, I think this all fits in together. So, from the Leicester-Exeter game earlier today, there was I'm going to say a controversial. I think
I would agree.
I think the reception of it has been met with controversy, and Ollie Woodburn got a second yellow card. Leicester were awarded a penalty try for Chris Ashton sliding in to score, and Ollie Woodburn sliding alongside him to try and push him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
For which he was penalised.
And there was no contact with the head.
No.
There was no... Let's say it wasn't for a non-wrap. It was for a tackle on the floor, sliding on the floor.
It was for
being out of the game,
making
and then
contact. Making contact with a player who was already on the floor. Is essentially what it was.
So, for me, my view on this, I was watching it. I was kind of shaking my head as I was watching it, because there are certain things in rugby that are not refereed consistent with the laws. The laws are not consistently applied.
Like a straight put-in.
Feed in the scrum. 5 second use it. The jumping into a tackle in the motion of scoring a try.
Yes, that's gone out the window completely.
Yeah.
The not straight line out when the opposition aren't competing.
Yeah. Shoulders above hips at the ruck.
Yep.
So there are multiple things that are refereed inconsistently to the way that the law is written down. This, I think, is one of them. And I've not actually had a chance to check how the law is written down, but if you apply the word of the law as I think it's written, Ollie Woodburn, as soon as he's lying on the floor, so he slid in, he actually lay down and then made contact, if that makes sense. As soon as he slides in, as soon as he's laid down, in effect, his knees on the floor, he's out of the game, therefore he can't engage a contact, so it should be a penalty. Now, in the process of scoring a try, it's almost never applied like that. As in, it's basically a free-for-all. You can dive in to try and stop a try. And frequently we see mauls collapse, or people, when the two bodies flop over the line and it's not entirely certain where the ball is, a string of bodies all just flop around the ball to try and stop any angle from the referee or the TMO or anything. Now, that's what we're used to seeing. So we're used to seeing what Ollie Woodburn did not be applied the way it was done today, not be given as a penalty or anything else, and just play on. In the same way that a winger going in the corner will jump into the tackle, which is a penalty against him, as per the law. There's no exceptions to that law, but it never gets refereed like that. So I found today's application of the law, if Carl Dixon had told the players prior to it that we're going to be really strict on this, in the same way that if he told the players we're going to be really strict on shoulders below hips in a ruck, or really strict on feeding, I can understand it. But I don't think that's what he did. It just seemed like he was robotically reading through the laws and not considering what he's ever played or refereed or witnessed.
That's what got me.
For the whole of his career.
That's what got me.
It's really a weird situation. I found it, and it even more weird because it was Carl Dixon.
Yeah, because it's a former player.
He's got 200 professional games of rugby under his belt before he started being a referee. So he has seen this scenario hundreds of times.
Yeah, it was almost. I was trying to get into the head and going, "Are you just trying to show off that you know this law?"
Yeah,
I don't know. It was.
But he does know the law, doesn't he?
It was. Yeah, he does know the law, and you can't argue with the law book, as you say. You can just argue with the application, the empathy, the precedent.
Yeah.
And
So my question to you two is, why did he do it?
So I think he kind of backed himself into a corner. Like, was my read when he did it, because he felt. My read watching it was he almost felt bad that it wasn't a try. Maybe it was the Ashton situation, because it was going to be. Was that going to be Ashton's 100th?
yes.
I think it was going to be Ashton's 100th, wasn't
I think
it?
that's right, yeah.
And he felt bad, and so he tried to level things up, which you just occasionally do see referees doing. And once he'd started talking like, we've got to look, it's not a try, but we've got to look at something else, there, he kind of backed himself into a corner.
Interesting.
And the TMO actually said, I can't remember how he phrased it, but he was like, are you sure? Like, do you really want to go down this route, Carl?
What would a Korean pilot say?
A Korean pilot would. What would he say? The weather maps have been useful before, Carl.
Maybe they'll be useful in the future.
A reference to a brilliant chapter in Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell book, where you will never get two Korean pilots in a cockpit together because of the
No.
the culture of subordination.
Yes, it's how whether to change their culture. Of subordination.
So the senior captain was flying a plane into a mountain, and the junior captain couldn't say, "You're flying into a mountain."
Much like the TMO today.
Yeah,
Carl, you're flying into a mountain.
which is why now the universal language of aviation is English, because there's Japanese language is even more nuanced than English in terms of subservience.
So I would. So if I was postulating, guessing why this might happen, there's obviously something that you either know or are pontificating. So I'll jump on board with that. Something to do with the World Cup coming up, and referees are under huge scrutiny over all their decisions. And I mean, a place at the World Cup is massive, isn't it?
Well done.
And England can only take one, right? And
No.
Wayne Barnes two. Wayne Barnes
No.
and Luke Pearce, or is Carl Dixon trying to get it
Right.
from Luke Pearce?
So, for this, we need to cast our minds back to another game. Have you seen what I put on Twitter? Not my Twitter. Don't look at that. That's not for rugby. The EggChasers Twitter.
Oh, the AJ McGinty tap tackle on Andre Esterhazy.
Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, so if you look at the AJ McGinty tap, no, this year, because AJ McGinty's only been there a year.
Sorry, I meant 2022.
Yeah.
Last calendar year.
So this is a really important play, actually, because I think if Harlequins had won that, they'd be back in the race for top four. And they didn't. So Esterhazy's through, tap tackle from AJ McGinty. Esterhazy's fallen to the ground, and as he's fallen to the ground, Tom Whiteley comes out of nowhere, very similar to today, dislodges the ball from Andre Esterhazy. Everyone's like, that is a phenomenal tackle. And I think any normal rugby fan would say that is a phenomenal tackle. Who refereed that game?
Was it Carl Dixon?
It was Carl Dixon. So Carl Dixon referees that game.
And he got a roasting for it, did he?
He got absolutely annihilated by World Rugby for it. So he stands up and he defends himself against World Rugby. Says, no, this is how the players play the game. This is how the game should be played, so on and so forth. And he got annihilated again. Now, England are going to take Barnes, they're going to take Pearce. They're going to take potentially two more.
For the TMO bunker.
Well, yeah, something. And he wants to go to the World Cup, which is completely understandable. It is his job.
So and it's the
is
pinnacle of the job that he wants to be doing.
Exactly. So it's not. He's not doing this, I don't think, because he believes that should be a try.
Or that he was lacking empathy for what the players were doing out on the field.
No. He's already been stung once like this.
Ticking the box.
Which is why he knows that law so well. Which is why he hunted that down and went, no, we've got to look at this. And even though he's been talked off the ledge by his TMO, these are the laws that World Rugby wants us to play. And it is indicative now of the state of rugby that we've got these perverse outcomes, all because of top-down manipulation of the game, whether it be the whole changing behaviour thing, or, as Rob Baxter said today, too many big games are getting decided by red cards. We've got people at the top of the game who do not give a shit about the game, and they're more interested in pushing their message and their agenda. And as such, you've got referees, and in this case...
Well, this might not be an agenda as such. It might just be that they're enforcing the law book that's already there.
Yeah,
and as Phil has mentioned a number of times with various decisions, is that this is so rare. Like that, it will have happened in the Premiership twice this season. Once the law was applied and once it wasn't. And it's unlikely that between now and the end of the season it will happen again. So this so infrequently comes up that this is a total freak occurrence. But I just wish the response was, and this goes to your point, I wish the response was, when we come across things like this, we use the metric not of what is written down and therefore is law and sacrosanct, but what feels right.
Yeah, so here's what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm not saying that there's an agenda on this particular point. What I'm saying is, for World Rugby and the RFU and busybodies like Bill Sweeney, who are determined to destroy the game one way or another, in order to get what they need from the game itself, they need an absolute iron fist to control referees. Because if you don't, you get referees out there who have empathy with the players. Now, you can't so-called change behaviour, and you can't enforce your laws to the nth degree unless the referees are carrying out exactly as you say. So this culture of top-down control on referees is there mainly because of all the other things that they're trying to achieve, but it also bleeds into other areas. So when they're absolutely smashing Carl Dixon, saying, look, you need to do this, Carl Dixon knows he needs to do it or he won't be going where he wants to go, because they don't care. I mean, if you think about it from the fans' point of view and the players' point of view, we want to be facilitating a game which is fun to watch, which is entertaining, which everybody wants to be part of. That's not the World Rugby view. So I don't think someone like Nigel Owens.
Oh, hold on. I'm going with you, but I'm just gonna steer or pull the reins a little bit, because can you say everything you're saying, but give a good faith interpretation? So to say Bill Sweeney is trying to ruin the game,
he's trying to trash it. Well, I spoke to the guy. I know exactly what he's up to.
Right. well, so
the guy is more interested in his next job than he is in his current job.
He has a. These people have they're trying to make what they believe is making the game better. We and you, to a large degree disagree about how to achieve that.
If you find out about the antics of some of the individuals in World Rugby, and particularly the communications staff, and how they behave to push their agendas, particularly when there is a message they don't agree with, like one of the messages which I tried to put out, and I will talk about this at some point. You will understand it's exactly as I say. There are agendas, and those agendas need to be pushed.
No, I agree. I'm not saying there's not agenda. Everyone has agendas. You have an agenda, which I'm not criticising. I'm saying you have an agenda to keep the game as it is, to conserve what we have. So everyone has an agenda. The good point I'm making is to say your agenda is to make rugby great, and their agenda is to destroy the game.
The good faith argument is you want consistency in the decision-making process and compliance to the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law.
Yes.
But of course, I don't believe that. I don't think anyone else believes that, because some of the greatest rugby games of all time have been refereed by Nigel Owens, who was the absolute proponent of the spirit of the game. So if you look at some of the great games, what you want from a ref is consistency, I guess, within the same game.
I'll give you a Nigel Owens example. The Courtney Lawes tackle on Jules Plisson.
Yes.
He refereed that game and let the boys play.
Right. Now, there are, I don't think a referee like Nigel Owens would be allowed now to referee a World Cup final. Just don't think he would, because they need compliance from the referees in order to push through all their other agendas. I mean, God, when the high tackle laws change next year in the amateur game, if these referees aren't on board, it's going to be an absolute disaster. So it's got to start at the top, and it's got to filter down. So when people are saying, look, this is the worst decision by Carl Dixon ever, you've got to understand the pressure the guy's under, because he wants to go to the World Cup.
So I fully understand that, and I can see that the drive. If Carl Dixon has been reprimanded before, then he has to make that decision.
Yes.
The bit that I still don't understand is, if they're fastidiously applying the written law in this scenario, why are they not doing it in other scenarios?
Yeah,
So this is, I've never seen anyone injured in this scenario that we've got here. For one, it's a highly unusual event, and two, if both bodies are on the floor, there is far less force because they're both on the floor. Why, if we just take one of the most dangerous things that we spoke about last week or a couple of weeks ago, in terms of the jackal,
Rowan Ackerman, croc roll,
the croc roll, in particular, and if you apply the law as it's written, shoulders can't be below hips. If shoulders aren't below hips, then you're in a much less stable position as the jackler. Therefore, it's much easier to blow you away Therefore, the croc rule is much less likely. Now, that is application as written that makes the game actually significantly more safe, significantly safer. I don't get why and things like feeding on scrums, I kind of get that, but application of the 5-second rules or jumping into the corner for the tackles, why are they picking this one?
Yeah, I think it's not that they're picking this one. I think it's just one case of one referee getting burnt by one thing, and I don't. But we know Carl Dixon thinks.
Why pick this? We have got dozens and dozens of examples of players jumping into the corner to score a try. Jumping into the tackle to score a try.
So is it Hanlon or Occam's razor is the never attribute to malice what is explained by incompetence? Hanlon's razor, which is brilliant.
Occam's razor
is the simplest explanation
is usually the correct one.
Yes.
But Hanlon's razor is never attribute malice where it can reasonably be explained by incompetence. And I think this is one of those occasions where Carl Dixon's been burned, probably because, I don't know, someone's justifying their own position as a
World Rugby.
Someone justifying their own position as a rugby aficionado and rugby manager or whatever position it is. And so, no, the law says you got that wrong, and or maybe they got out of bed the wrong side of. They had an argument with their missus the night before, or their other half the night before, and they, I don't know, just thought they'd come down on Carl Dixon for this one, rather than apply that actually the way you did that in that Harlequins game with Tom Whiteley feels
there is a
like
thing,
the right thing to do.
There's a thing. Obviously, rugby's an amateur game in its inception, and there is a thing as they try and professionalise it and they bring more managerial people in, they try and justify their positions. I think that's a really good point, Tim. They do. So you get these people who are getting more and more, who are as senior as they get with the managerial mindset. I don't think the laws that they've inherited necessarily fit the game.
No, quite.
I'll give you another example, right? Even more fundamental, which no one's ever spoke about, that I know of. 2 yellow cards equal a red.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I mean, we just inherited it off football. There's no other reason that 2 yellow cards equal a red other than the fact that we got it from football.
Yeah, correct.
Why can't we have 4 yellow cards? What difference does it make?
Yeah, you're off the field for 10 minutes.
For everyone.
There's enough of an incentive. This just to jump on briefly, let's touch on what Rob Baxter suggested. So he talked in the week and he said rugby has tied itself to this outcome where a red card means you lose a player.
Yeah.
And why can't we have it more like American sports where a player can be ejected for a game for
exactly what I've said.
Egregious foul play or excessive or whatever, just clumsiness, whatever it may be. However, the teams remain 15v15, and to me that seems totally reasonable.
I said this years ago.
Yeah, you did.
You did. I'm the Charlie Munger saying, "Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome." Like the incentives are one thing. Like what I took out back to because it was in game, wasn't he, when he was talking about it?
Oh no, he talked about this in the week, and it just so happened that this happened during the game, which meant he could kind of build on what he'd already said in the week in an interview.
Well, I was thinking, is there a more creative, is there a better way of disincentivising this play that creates more scoring opportunities or something like that? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I've got an answer, but change the incentives, because if people are moaning because multiple yellow cards are not changing the behaviours, let's change the incentives and see if that changes the behaviours. Let's try and it might be, you've said this before, Jimmy, let's just start finding players. If they're going to not take home £10,000 this month, then they are really strongly going to consider changing their behaviour.
The average Premiership salary, also the most frequently paid Premiership salary,
the modal,
is £42,000 or £45,000, something like that. £1,000 is a lot of money to these guys.
Yeah,
a lot of money. Of your actual post-tax income.
Have an income-linked incentive. Yeah. So Stuart Hogg might get fined £20,000, but Beckinsale,
I bet he played on 20k today.
Yeah. Who's on he'll probably be on an academy contract. He gets fined £500. Yeah.
So,
but I'm not saying that. Like, I would actually prefer incentives that change the attacking, give an opportunity. Like, have, I don't know, 3 midfield scrums or something. 3 attacking midfield scrums in the 22. If you Then you get three shots to score as many points as you want instead of a red card.
Yeah,
leave it 15 on 15.
I'm open to anything like that. And what I like is, we've talked about this before, but rugby's 150 years old, 160 now, and the legacy of it and the heritage of it is you want to conserve that. But at the same time, if rugby needs to change because it is dwindling, if things need to be developed, then have a blank bit of paper and have some fresh thinking where it would actually be really useful. It feels like we're trying to change sometimes the things that don't need to be changed and not changing the things that we should.
It's kind of like, is it Mao's Great Leap Forward? It's like, let's kill all the sparrows. And then he kills all the sparrows and all the locusts go wild. And it feels like we keep, with rugby, we carry on changing these little bits, and the secondary consequences get worse and worse and worse. And we deal with the secondary consequences, then the third order consequences get worse and worse and worse. It needs to be a bit more fundamental than that. Mark Evans told me that when rugby doesn't know what to do, it does the same thing over and over again. It copies football. So it's like, we don't know what to do. What does football do?
Or rugby league.
Rugby league. Well, yeah. So, I'll just give you a dead simple one. I alluded to it before. Just de-link yellow cards to red cards. Because yellow cards are for technical infringements. Do that all day. Red card is for egregious foul play. They're two very different things. 2 bits of technical infringements do not equal a red card by anyone's measure. I mean, if that was the case, you could actually say for every... It's 10 minutes for the first yellow card, 12 minutes for the second yellow card, whatever it is. But there's so many other options and linking yellows and reds.
You could do it throughout the season. So your first yellow card is 10 minutes in this, or 5 minutes, then 10, then 15.
Or cumulative among the team.
So Danny, you could even do that.
Yeah.
Danny Kerr last season, I think he broke the Premiership record. Might be David Pace, but
David Pace.
Danny Kerr was on something like 7 or 8 yellow cards last season, not for foul play. I think most of them were deliberate knockdowns, which again, that's a law that I would. So if I was involved in World Rugby, I would gather a load of players and referees and actually run through every single law and say, right, this is the law as written. How do you see that in a game?
Yeah.
And then you almost... You tell them the law and get them to write down or act out how that law is and match them up. Like the feeding on scrums or the diving into a corner, the examples that I gave before, the law is written and reality, they are misaligned. For 90% of the laws, they're probably aligned, but 10% are misaligned. And that 10%, they need to change. Either you need to change the wording to what is applied or apply the wording. But you can't just leave this misalignment. And like deliberate knock-on's another good one because the headline is deliberate knock-on, but it's not about intention. It's about, are you in a reasonable position to catch the ball? So it shouldn't be called deliberate because deliberate implies intent. And it's not about intent.
No, it's not. So the intent is to catch the ball. Well, sometimes it is.
So now, sometimes
it is.
But it doesn't have to be. Like the two yellow cards today, neither of them were trying to knock the ball down. Neither of them were in a realistic position to catch that ball. They were both attempting to,
Woodburn was.
Woodburn was attempting to catch.
Yeah, they were in a position. Well, yeah, quite often they're in a position to catch the ball. They just don't execute the catch.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the idea of a referee who's not a professional rugby player telling the professional ball catcher that he's not in a reasonable position to catch it. Like, no, I think I know.
If Woodburn is
I got my hand to the ball. I think I was in a reasonable position to catch. I just didn't. I just didn't execute.
Yeah.
Woodburn. If it goes slightly different and the ball gets tapped up into the air, he catches that and he scores a try.
How about he does catch it, but then the referee sends him off anyway because he wasn't in a reasonable position to catch it?
That is such a ludicrous catch. You weren't in a reasonable position.
You weren't in a reasonable position to catch it. I know what the outcome was, but the law as written says you were not in a reasonable position to catch it. Off you go, son.
It does need look. I'm not saying right now, but this should be done. You can't continue with this inconsistency between written law and application, especially when you're picking and choosing which ones you want to apply and which ones you don't want to apply.
Well, look, it's just a microcosm of rugby. We've got games decided by not poor refereeing. I honestly do not think any of the referees in the Premiership are poor. Carl Dixon
no.
included. I think they're excellent, in fact.
Yeah, and then when you watch refs from other areas, sometimes it highlights just how good we have it in the Premiership.
Exactly. So, Premiership's got many problems. The officials
referees
are not
one. 100%.
But the people who are in charge of the referees are indeed a problem. Now, you said you would get World Rugby in a room and do this, that and the other. I'd get everyone in World Rugby in a room, and then I'd get Ross Tucker, and I'd commission him to write a report as to why they should all be fired.
Well, actually, what I would actually really do...
You'd just be following the science.
I'd have me in the room.
Yes.
I would then go... Basically, what I need is about... When's the World Cup? 6 months away. Right, so I need 7 months full-time pay to lock me in a room. I'm going to go through every law. I'm going to give you what that law is as it's written, and I'm going to find 10 examples of that law being either applied well or applied badly off all the game tape, and then I'm going to propose changes. Some laws will get eliminated altogether. Some laws will be tweaked to meet the application, and some there'll be some guidance to referees to say, no, you need to start applying the law as written.
Yeah,
that's what I want. What's 6? Yeah, 6 months pay.
I'll take on a 6 month
500k
contract.
Can I would happily pay my subs to my club, who then fund the union to then pay you your $500,000 to do that over the next 7 months.
$500,000.
Get in.
Sorry, $500,000. If you can take the law book from however thick it is, an inch, 2 inches thick, down to half an inch thick.
I think I would. I think there's a lot of laws that would be both, but that would be either condensed or eliminated in my incredibly thorough review.
Yeah, I'd take on a 6 month comment as head of HR for World Rugby. It'd be wonderful like that.
I think you would be like Vince McMahon.
Yeah, exactly.
See, there are times when I look at Rob Baxter, and I actually think if I had to pick someone in England to just go, if I had to put the trust in one individual to go, there's rugby, I'll go with whatever you say. You're in sole charge. You're an emperor for rugby. Now, I would hand it to Rob Baxter. So when he comes up and says things, I honestly think there will be hours. He doesn't just say this off the cuff. There will be hours of thought, a huge amount of consideration, and quite often his suggestions just get swatted away.
Yeah, because they don't want to. I mean, he's inconvenient to a lot of people, I think, and he's becoming more outspoken as well, which is quite interesting. So I think over the last year or so, he's really started to rub against the grain of, the people who want to make rugby more worthy, for want of a better word. And I don't think he's going down particularly well, but he is right on almost everything he says. Almost everything he says. The problem is he's tarred with the Chiefs brand now, and I think one of the problems is with the Chiefs as they currently are. Is they have got a huge amount of reputational damage from all of the campaigning which was previously done against them, all of the unfair campaigning. So yeah, it's not ideal. But if he was the emperor, I'm sure the first thing he would do is appoint an under emperor. That'd be Steve Diamond.
But the Chiefs, as well as reputational damage from that side, which we don't need to go into, there is some reputational damage because, other than last week, which we spoke about previously, and in Europe, they're not actually playing particularly well.
Well, yeah.
They're a shadow.
Yeah. But on Rob Baxter, one observation, he's back the last month, 3 weeks particularly, he's now back out and doing all the interviews. He's doing the media. He's the face of the club again. Yeah. And I'm wondering what's happened there because...
Wow, that's a good question.
Because he wasn't before, and he handed that responsibility over to Ali Heifer, and then he's grabbed he appears from where I sit to have grabbed the reins again.
Well, I think amongst all this chat about the red card, what I think we can all agree on is that Ollie Woodburn is not a 43-point player. Is that the differential in the end?
It is. Yeah, he's not a 43-point player. Now he was missing for 40 minutes, and what's his name? O'Loughlin was missing for 10 minutes.
And there was a period where it was both at the same time.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 minutes where both are the same, but it's still that
40. I mean, that's a hell of a lot.
Well, it was 29 points when he went off, and it ended up 62. So 33 points.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Exeter, I do believe, is that they are, and I'm going to sound like I'm talking about the refs again now, but they are an extremely compliant team. They do exactly as they are told. So quite often, I think when Exeter are successful, it's because the coaches have got it right. And when the team are unsuccessful, it's because the coaches have got it wrong. And I truly believe that, because if you watch them play today, they were just executing what they were told to execute. I'm certain of that. You do not hold the ball for that amount of time getting smashed backwards unless you've been told to. I mean, it's just unfathomable.
You don't repeatedly kick for the corner, particularly in the first half, when your line out and driving maul are not working very well, when you've got kickable 3 points, and when they were doing it, they were only 5 or 7 points down.
Hold on. What is the status with the table? Are they in a situation where
they're done?
A win and a bonus point was kind of essential.
Yes,
but it was still out of their hands. Even basically top 4 was done. Now they're actually in a position where they could lose top 8.
Crikey.
It's in their hands, but it's not brilliant. The top 4, they've never really had it would have been out of their hands.
Yeah. I mean, they had a very big loss when Solomon Akata went off. I do believe he makes a difference. But some of the stuff they did was just not good rugby, for want of a better word. And it was unwise tactics. Some of their wide passing was horrendous. So they try and spread the ball, but they seem to do their absolute utmost to make sure the last pass to the wings are as high as they can physically get it without throwing it into touch. I do not get that for the life of me.
Test the winger's vertical leap.
Yeah, and you look at their...
Is it called Billy Ball, that call, or
I mean, I'm guessing...
Ben Ball.
I mean, are they hoping to maybe slow down the Leicester rush defence because they can't tackle them in the air? I do not know what the idea is, but it's just not good. You look at their attacking shape. It's so predictable. Now, if you're going to play possession-based... That's not quite the right word. Yeah, it's possession-based.
Yeah.
So they want to go through the phases. But if you're not winning those collisions, you can't do it. And you shouldn't be kidding yourself that you can. They got into the Leicester 22 on about the 20-minute mark, and they were marched back past the 22, past the 10-metre. I think they ended up on the halfway, and they're still playing rugby. Like, that is not how Exeter Chiefs operate. Now, back in the day, they'd hit their pick-and-go game. Obviously, that's been massively neutered by the law changes. But they're still trying to play a variation of that.
And losing personnel as well.
Yeah.
Because the law change... I was watching this game thinking, how much of this is law changes and how much of it is loss of personnel?
Yeah, and I think they're rebuilding to a certain degree as well.
They are. So I certainly hope they are.
Yeah, well... Yeah, I wonder as well what was the idea behind the Exeter team selection today. Because other players were available.
But how much is giving them a rest for... They played a couple of hard weeks in Europe.
Yep. Well, maybe. But you've got to remember, this game to them was their last real Premiership game.
I mean, not the Premiership, other than assuring they get top 4.
Hold on a second. Okay. It's quite conceivable that in the round of games coming up this weekend, Northampton lose at Newcastle. That's definitely possible. London Irish lose away at Saracens. Definitely possible.
That is definitely possible, yeah.
Harlequins are home to Bath. You would imagine they win. Even if that happens, okay, the final day of the season, Harlequins have got to go away to Leicester, and Exeter play London Irish, whilst Northampton have... I'm just thinking, what's the last game of the season?
Well,
Northampton don't play on the last game of the season.
One game left.
Only got one game left. So Exeter, right, so if it goes as I expect this weekend, where I'm going to say London Irish lose, Northampton lose, and Harlequins win, if Exeter manage to beat Bristol at home, which they'll fancy themselves to do, then they will be 3 points behind Quins, or 3 or 2 points behind Quins, and they will be potentially... 5 points behind Northampton.
So if they beat Leicester, they would, but it took them winning away at Leicester, and it means Northampton have to lose, getting nothing,
yeah.
Away at Newcastle, who it's irrelevant for Newcastle, and Northampton are playing for a spot in the top 4. So I do agree with you, but what I'm saying is we're going to know on Friday night. If Northampton gets 0 points on Friday night, then Exeter have got a shot. I guess my point was, and still is, it is out of their hands.
Yes, it is.
Then that, I guess, technically...
I mean, it's not... today was a disaster.
Yeah,
they didn't get anything.
It was still out of their hands.
Yeah.
So, it was going into that game yesterday, and it's still out of their hands. They technically could do it now.
Yeah. Highly unlikely. Don't get me wrong.
Highly unlikely. Highly
I was just saying
unlikely.
it is not conclusively done.
Yeah.
And the battle's still on, and Quins have given themselves a glimmer.
Yeah, they've got to win 2 and hope
Home
Irish
to Bath, away to Leicester.
hope Irish lose 2 and Northampton lose 1.
Have we finished talking about Tigers yet? Because I want to talk about Tigers.
So I think we probably finished talking about Exeter. We've not really talked about Tigers yet.
I was so wrong about Andre Pollard.
Same.
He is absolutely world class.
I was only wrong in how right I was.
Yeah. I mean, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
It is funny because I don't know why we'd built up this negative picture. Maybe it's because of Springbok tactics or I don't know.
Because I've seen him play. I mean, that's why.
But he is class. He's all-round class. He
cuts back against the Exeter defence, glides through them, and then that kick at the end. I remember Danny Cipriani.
This is for the first. Is this the first try? Yeah.
I remember Danny Cipriani doing something similar, and everyone going absolutely wild about it.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's a copycat league or whatnot because Exeter Tigers did have a lot of success with their kicking game. I think the first 3 tries were kicks.
They were. I think there's definitely more than 3 as well. They also had a few risky moments. The first extra try was a crossfield kick went wrong.
Yep.
And they almost did a carbon copy of it that went wrong as well 10 minutes after that. But generally their kicks were very, very good.
I've got to say, in the world of salary caps and whatnot, the job that Leicester Tigers have done is phenomenal with that squad. I mean, it really is. They've got young lads who are massive. And I tell you something which they should take a lot of credit for. There are some old boys in there. Not necessarily old boys. Watson's not an old boy, but he's been around a long time. There's obviously Brown. There's obviously Ashton.
Gopperth.
Although the reason I will tell you why I'm not including Gopperth in this in a second. All those 3 guys, undoubtedly very talented, and have had a really troubled rugby past in the last, say, 12 months. You couldn't look at any one of those and say they've had a really good 12 months with rugby.
12, 18 months, yeah. A couple of years, yeah.
Every one of them would have been disillusioned with the game to some degree. And here they are at Tigers, and they look like they're enjoying their sport again. And I think that's a remarkable thing. So they picked up some great value.
Even Gopperth, I mean, you say don't include him in that, but the rumours of Wasps going under before they eventually went under, they were rumours. He would not... If he was offered a position of less stability at Wasps or more stability at Tigers, take the more stability.
100%. And he went to Tigers to win things, and he won.
Yeah.
So, and I think it might be one of the few squads that by next year will strengthen. So, they've already signed Ollie Hassel-Collins.
Yeah.
They've signed...
There's another winger, isn't there?
Who is the massive back row from South Africa? Another one. Who was at Worcester and now at La Rochelle.
Oh, yeah.
Hatherell.
Kyle Hatherell.
He's going to be an absolute beast.
I like him as well.
And there's
Worcester had some good players. They just didn't use them well.
It's amazing how bad they were, considering their players have become the key players for so many teams now.
Yeah. Blame Steve Diamond, I guess.
Absolutely not. So, it's Jonathan Thomas's fault. Yeah, so they're remarkably well they've done remarkably well with their squad construction. It'll turn into a stronger squad. I mean, I don't know how they're going to transition.
And Jamie Shilcock.
That's the one. Those are decent signings. And add to that, they've already future-proofed their fly-half position, because obviously Pollard's going to be the number 1. But Charlie Atkinson at number 2 is
I really like Charlie Atkinson as well. Yeah,
pretty good. They're the only... I don't know how long they can keep this squad together, but from what I understand, certainly the younger lads, and that's the other thing as well, nobody has that many big young lads.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Even Exeter, who are famed for bringing in both big young lads and overseas, mainly Southern African mutants, don't have the repertoire and range that Leicester Tigers do.
Cam Henderson is just the latest one. There will be another... Chesum at some point, an even bigger, harder Chesum.
Well, there's the current Chesum, the England under-20s Chesum, and then there's another one on the production line who's a few years younger as well.
Brilliant. And of course George Martin. And George Martin played today like he was not playing games.
Yeah, I do like George Martin.
And the way he hits, such a big guy. He's so powerful.
Yeah, good technique as well.
It is, isn't
he
it?
gets very low.
Don't know who he hit today, but it's just a case of shop shirts immediately.
Yeah.
Who was it?
He was top tackler today as well, wasn't he? Yeah. There is
Steve Borthwick loves him. Absolutely loves him.
I can see
There is
why.
something Courtney Laws-esque about his body hit for such a big lad in the tackle. I do remember there was a... Because I'm a bit of a loser. I always watch the England rugby videos that they put out, which are generally pretty good. But you always get some. There's always some boring, cheesy stuff. There's always some interesting.
Do you always find it's like the things they pick up in the background? So
yeah.
You listen to someone like praise their dad about how good they were, but in the background there's like a guy doing kick-ups or kicking practice or squatting 600 kilograms or something.
One of the interesting ones, which wasn't a big thing, but and I mentioned this on the pod at the time, was they had a competition with the second rows to see who had the best vertical leap.
That's right, yeah.
And Marrow won it, but Johnny Hill was only 1 inch less than Marrow, which, considering he's 10 kilos heavier, is very impressive. And it's from your starting point as well. It's not that because
above
he's
your height,
it's not
your
because
reach.
he's 2 inches taller and his reach is therefore 4 inches taller. No, that's the given starting point. But no, there was a session, it was ages ago, where George Martin was working with Eddie Jones on tackle technique.
Oh, really?
And it's something that I've observed. He did it, I think it was in Brighton, and Eddie Jones was giving all... This is when he first came in as a 19-year-old to the England camp, and you can see his low body height devastating tackle technique from it.
Excellent. Anyone see Sale absolutely annihilate Bristol Bears?
I did.
No.
I wouldn't say it's an absolute annihilation.
36-20 is an annihilation.
Sale failed to get a bonus point. I mean,
yes.
So they actually could. It's probably not going to happen, but they could lose top 2 because Tigers are only 2 points behind them.
Well, they could do. Now,
Tigers have only got 1 game and Sale have got 2, so it's probably unlikely, but it could happen.
I'm going to contradict something that I've previously said.
Go on.
I actually think BT Sport did exactly what I have previously said in changing the game that they televised because they were following where the story is. And Bath and Gloucester need to be better so that game means more. And so if you're not going to be good, if you're 9th
and 10th,
if you're 9th and 10th, they're not going to be good enough to be in the playoff conversation. Then see you later. Tough.
I 100% disagree with that.
Well, no. So that is my point.
Okay.
I think rugby has to have that ability, or whoever the broadcaster is has to have that ability to follow the story and create something compelling. The only thing I'm going to disagree on is Bath versus Gloucester, even with nothing but pride at stake and possibly keeping alive a slim chance of a top 8 finish. That's still a game I want to see because I know how much it means to the fans,
right.
and that history and that heritage does mean something, and that sometimes is a story that's worth pursuing.
I mean, let's just talk about Bristol Bears Sale Sharks as a matchup, right? What is the history between these two? I mean, okay, let me ask you a different question. How would you go about cutting a promo for this game?
Ooh.
Where are the storylines?
Bristol, well, you've got AJ McGinty going home again, or playing against his old team. Yeah. Anyway, you've got I
know
Andrew Sheridan.
Andrew Sheridan's been to both clubs, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Imagine wheeling out Andrew Sheridan.
Will Cliff retiring, although he wasn't involved in the game.
Is Will Cliff retired?
He's retiring. It's got to that point where the kids that we remember coming through as academy prospects at Sale are now retiring.
The return of the Currys, double Curry.
Can we just talk about them getting given joint man of the match?
Yeah,
I felt a bit cringe about that.
That was really cringy.
Joint man of the match. I didn't see that.
Both twins got man of the match.
God, that's awful.
But they obviously only had 1 medal, so only one of them could be given the medal.
Obviously, Tom took it. Yeah,
it was rubbish.
It's kind of I get it. It's a nice idea, but
No, it's not. It's not even a nice idea.
No, if that,
it's a bad idea.
If that had been Jean-Luc Dupree and Tom Curry, I can't choose between Jean-Luc Dupree and Tom Curry, so we'll give them both. It's only because they are identical
exactly
twins.
Right. And can I just point out, right? If my work rate was combined with another player's work rate on the field, of course I'd get man of the match.
It's like when Maritz Botha and who else was wearing a red scrum hat?
Tom Johnson.
Tom
Johnson. One of them was having the best game that anyone's ever. They're on like 36 tackles after 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly right. So
that was a total cop out, and I thought it was just cringe.
If I was going to cut a promo for this,
yeah,
there's only one place that I would go. And there's only and there's two players that I'd interview.
Oh, see, I wouldn't. I think it's which.
I don't think they're giving an interview, but I'd ask
which DOR has the most fake love for his players and his team.
Wow, that'd be like a little quiz.
Who is the better and bigger bullshitter?
Yes.
When it comes to fake psychology and motivating
that's how
players.
you would cut the promo. Is you would have, and I'm not going to say fake or shit psychology. I actually think Pat Lam and do you think
Pat Lam really loves his players?
No,
do you?
no. What I was going to say, and I mean this absolutely sincerely. I think they are both fantastic speakers. And that,
do you?
That they're I do genuinely. Yeah,
I mean,
I think they're great.
I think they're fantastic if you're 21. I mean, if you're anything older than 21, it's very monotonous.
They'd be great guests on a Chris Williamson podcast.
Yeah. I mean, none of
talk about your growth mindset.
Sorry,
they'd be all over that, wouldn't they?
None of whatever they say stands up even to the slightest scrutiny. Even the slightest scrutiny.
So that'd be good for the Jake Humphreys.
Let them talk to Jake Humphreys.
Yeah.
If they actually, if just a normal person asks questions about this nonsense which they both speak, I think they'll be found out pretty quickly.
I think that's the point. I think they are good speakers. I think they love the smell of their own.
Yeah, if you were 21, all they need to do, right? Never forget this. All they need to do is convince a 21-year-old kid that they're right, and it's pretty easy. Believe you me, it's not a difficult task. But if I was going to cut a promo for this game, I would be interviewing two players. I don't know if they're still playing. Tom and Luke Orscott.
Oh, wow.
What does this game mean to you?
God, so, because there was there a ban or was there disciplinary within one of the clubs for...
One got fired.
Was it fired?
So,
for passing on moves, calls.
Apparently what happened is the one that played for Sale, which I do not remember if it's Tom or Luke, went to the team hotel of Bristol and apparently told them the line-out moves. Although this was never substantiated from what I could tell. I could tell. And then he got fired. He got fired from Sale.
Wow.
That is 100% the story that talk about intrigue, mystery, a firing. I'm interested now. I mean, if you want to just fire people up with, the most salacious thing you can find, that's what you do.
That's cool. That's how the NRL would do it.
Well, maybe that's what they should be doing. That's what they should be doing.
That's cool. Did you ever read or see anything on? What is it? There was a leak. I think it was Tesla. There's some leaked information from Tesla, and Elon found out who it was because he coded all of the email. There was internal email that was sent out to everyone, and there was a little bit of code. I think it might have been a double space between different words.
That's right.
And so when it got passed on, you could identify precisely which employee because all 10,000 employees had a slightly different version of the coded email.
That's incredible, isn't it?
So the line-out moves might have been passed around slightly different, or it could have just been the Orscotts.
So I remember I went to Sale and I had their line-out plays for... what was it? I can't remember which game. But it was awesome. I mean, I'd never disclosed what the line-out plays were to anyone else. But I got the booklets for the next game. And it was awesome knowing what the plays were and then watching them execute it.
Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
one thing that people that's pretty cool to know. So the guys that weren't involved in the games this weekend would have been doing video research the last few days for next weekend's opponents.
Well,
that's how a squad and a team work. It's cool.
Sale 1 week had... Do you remember speaking to Dan Mugford at Sale. Were you there?
Yeah, I've spoken to Dan Mugford.
Albion legend Dan
Albion
Mugford.
legend Dan Mugford. And he was tasked all week with playing the role of Danny Cipriani. So he was pretend Danny Cipriani all week for Sale against the Sale first team as they prepared. I love that.
Well, they had
He was a method actor who's hanging out with Nev Edwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Coffee with the boys.
Get me Nev on the phone. Texting. Apparently, for 2 days, he didn't even show up for work. So he did a great job of impersonating Danny Cipriani.
Drinking Malibu and pineapple.
Yeah.
Nesquik.
Hashtagging be kind. Yeah, did a great job.
There was the good story in the World Cup 2019 that because you're only allowed a playing squad of 31 players, Eddie Jones brought in a Japanese scrum half to train with the squad, and he was tasked ahead of the New Zealand game. He was solely charged with copying Aaron Smith.
That's right. I remember this guy.
Yeah.
Hang on. It wasn't the Japanese scrum half that actually played.
No,
not the same one.
He played for. Where was Eddie Jones at? Was he Suntory Sun Goliath?
Yeah, it is Sun Goliath. He's been there for like 2 decades.
Yeah. So coaching Bowden Barrett when he went there. Anyway, it was like third choice scrum half there, but he was again method actor.
Brilliant.
Going to airports, texting women.
Why not? Not being a dickhead, but simultaneously being a dickhead.
Wow. Anyway. Other than that, George Ford looked good. We were talking about Bristol and Sale.
Yes.
George Ford looked good. Rob Dupree, again, didn't look good as an outside centre. He's gone from being the best fly half to the league to...
Yeah. Do you think they're just playing him at outside centre, if you listen to Alex Anderson, of course, in order to play him in the final at 10?
To make him even better.
Even better, yeah. It makes sense to me.
But why isn't Borthwick on the phone asking him to play George Ford at outside centre?
Because apparently it makes you into better 10. I know this because, of course, Alex Anderson told us. Who was on the bench for...
Sam James was on the bench.
Sam James is a remarkably good centre. Why he would not play... He's just a starter every day of the week. I can't understand anybody who would rather play...
They won 36-20 away at Bristol.
Yeah, they did.
So, like, I think Alex Anderson...
Yeah. Where's the bonus point?
I think Alex
Sam
Anderson,
James is a genius.
Well, I think Sam James. I think Alex Anderson has earned the right to just say, "I've won the game."
Brief mention, won the game. He'll get top.
Hey,
two
as long
well.
as he carries on winning, right? He can bring as many smoke machines, have karaoke parties. He can do whatever he wants. Just carry on winning.
World War II ordnance.
It's not about convincing me. It's about convincing those lads to carry on playing hard.
Gloucester
as long
away,
as he does that, that's fine.
Gloucester away, Newcastle at home are their 2 games. I fancy them to get more than 2 points out of those. Which will,
I would say so.
If they get 3 points, they're finishing second. So
brilliant.
And they get to play Leicester probably.
Yeah,
that's a matchup.
Which is a good matchup.
Yeah,
George Ford. Just one point for this game. I won't go into a huge amount of detail. Ellis Genge, yellow card. It felt a little bit inconsistent with the application of some of the laws to me. Not that I particularly hate it, but we've definitely seen that being given red.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just a quick one.
There was significant. What did it get described as? A passive tackle or? Anyway, it was not a passive tackle. It was a full. It just happened that whichever Curry was hit, was it Ben or Tom? Can't remember. Both of them were involved in it. Was as hard as nails. So,
out of interest, what do you think has to happen at Bristol this year before Steve Lansdowne says, "I've seen enough of Pat Lam"? Thank you so much for everything that you've done, because I think he has legitimately had 3 or 4 brilliant years there. But whatever he was doing,
he had a couple, 2 or 3 improving years that led to one good year where they completely imploded after 28 minutes.
You give him an unlimited salary cap. He'll be fine.
I'm just not going to engage in this conversation because I don't want rugby to go down the footballification.
This isn't footballification. They've given this guy a 7-year contract. He's been there for at least 6.
Well, no,
so it's not footballification. It's a legitimate question.
It's footballification.
What? So how? So that's my question then, isn't it?
They've had a poor year. So
what about last year?
Yeah,
last year was terrible. And they're not improving.
So my opinion on this is, this is the test for Pat Lam. Now, he's released, or Radrander's going and Pietau's going, so he's losing two of his super big name, super expensive stars.
He's having to bring the money in without the marquees under 5 million.
Yes. He's brought this lad from Fiji,
very good player,
who's highly rated. He's bringing Max Malins in. He's bringing in Gabriel Ogre back to the Premiership. So he's bringing guys not on the same money. None of those will be on Radradra or Sir Charles money. And it's about the rebuild that's more suited to the league. And certainly more suited to the league salary cap as it is now, not the salary cap with the two marquee players when he arrived.
They need...
If he can do that, I would have a lot more faith and respect for him.
Yeah.
Because I think he's certainly not lived up to his reputation that was rightly earned at Connacht since he joined Bristol.
Yeah, I think he needs, and I think you're exactly right, Phil, you need to show me that you can adjust to the salary cap. I need to see a clear and defined strategy for recruitment. The biggest problem he's got is these two guys leaving. He can't replace them because, as I understand it, they're both probably the exiting marquee guys. Unless, and so, I don't know, do they...
Yeah, Luatua will...
Maybe Luatua is...
Maybe retain that spot, or Genjo Sinks might. I don't get that neither of those can yet.
You have to have been there for a couple of years.
Yeah, 3 years.
If you look at how Leicester found
Vui could be a marquee. They could plonk him in the marquee.
I mean, you could do.
Anyway, but they can. But they're bringing it in under 5 million, so that's that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at how Leicester ended up with Andre Pollard, and just the lengths they went to find this guy, and he's got no previous connections to the club. Oh, no, that's not true, because he would have had a connection through Aled Walters, right? You look at the process that Pat Lam went through to get hold of AJ McGinty, and as I can see from what I can see, it's just purely the fact that he played under him at Connacht. Now, what I would like
you say that like that's I can't believe that's all he did. All he did was coach him before.
Yeah,
what else would you need if you were a coach?
I'm so glad you asked. So,
I know this guy inside out, and I know how he worked in a system that won the whatever it was at the time. So against all odds.
So
Pro 14, Pro 16.
So if you've got a budget in mind, and you've got a type of player, and you're spending my money, say, as an owner, I don't mind that you end up with AJ McGinty. But what I also want to see is the process to which you ended up with AJ McGinty. So if it didn't work, you say, hang on, well, what happened here, Pat? Well, we looked at like 200 fly halves, and then we whittled it down to such and such, and we whittled it down to such and such. It just happens to be that the guy that I picked, I used to play with and have a pre-existing relationship with. If you look at Leicester Tigers, it may well fail with whoever they pick, but if you can spot a hole in that whole process, say, okay, well, it failed, but we're still happy with the process. As long as we get 4 out of 5 right, that's fine. It seems to me that Bristol are still buying big players, but are they buying them at the right price? Are there cheaper players that they could buy for less? Are they following a process? I mean,
we genuinely don't know.
We don't know.
Because he might have done that. But what I will say in Pat Lam's defence is, when they won the league, not the playoffs, but won the league, they finished first in the league, that team was built around a few superstars and then a load of guys like Piers O'Connor and Henry Purdy and Thacker and all the boys who were performing way above the market and anyone else expected them to. And he brought them in on effectively peanuts. And he actually...
Piers O'Connor
is great.
Great example.
He actually said there was that interview with him where he said,
worthless.
No, these boys, I'm paying them peanuts. But that was a squad that was built, and this we've spoke about this before. That was a squad that was built when he had 7.5 million plus 2 marquee players to play with.
Yeah,
that has been destroyed, and his squad has had to change accordingly, and now it's his. This is why I say the rebuild is the most important bit. He now knows the rules going forward. He has the opportunity to rebuild according to those rules. If he gets it right, that is a massive. That's like a third tick in the box.
Let's move it on shortly.
Just one thing on that, and with that salary cap as well, you have the chance to pick from like 60 Piers O'Connors, whereas in the new one, you've just got to pick a Piers O'Connor. You've got to pay him the money, and you've got to hope that guy works out. You could take a lot of chances with a full salary cap on low-paid players. And I think that plays into it as well. Kissing the frogs.
The advantage now is you've had 2 clubs go bump, so there's an oversupply of players in England, and the Welsh financial scenario means there is an abundance of Welsh players as well who will play for what historically would have been
what I would argue is the teams that are, you look at the Premiership, and the teams that are doing very well now have a large number of academy players who have come through and emerged and become solid first team players. And for whatever reason, Bristol have not had that, and I don't put that at Pat Lamb's door. And when you're trying to manage a salary cap and trying to make this adjustment, the fact that Sale have got Gus Warr and Rafi Quirk as their 2 scrum halves when Faf de Klerk's gone,
and Aaron Reid and
Tom Roebuck on the wings,
and
Carpenter come through.
Yeah.
So there's a load.
Sam James.
And Saracens obviously have got loads of those players, and
London Irish,
Northampton, London Irish, Harlequins, but Bristol are probably the team in the Premiership whose academy is not performing the most.
They had a small
or is performing
phase. They had a small phase of bringing lads through, but I think they're in such a rush to get somewhere early doors.
I don't think they do have the players coming through. Not like other clubs.
Yeah, Johan Lloyd was one of the best ones.
Harding?
Harry Randall.
Yeah, they've got a few.
Harry Randall's Leicester and Gloucester.
Yeah,
was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just. So
and
I'm
Lloyd,
sure that will change.
Welsh,
I'm sure that has to change. And
Filton Academy.
So as much as you say it's Leicester of look at the way they did Hondre Pollard, they went through this rigorous process. We don't know, but they're also.
Oh, we do know.
We do know. They are doing that, and yes, the man behind their recruitment is an extremely talented individual who's done a fantastic job for them. But their academy system and look at the team that's out there, and the number of academy products that are, if not international, looking like they are likely to be international standard.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah. So Sale won.
Yes.
In the other game, did you see the highlights of it?
Of
Gloucester Bath, the Friday night game. So
no.
Gloucester.
I was watching the score live.
Yeah.
Not that helps. I've seen some highlights.
So I've seen the highlights and I was watching the score.
Something about this fixture I love.
Me too.
It looked Gloucester. I mean, this game is a microcosm of their season because they scored 2 tries early on.
Well, they started really well and then shat the bed a little bit. Yeah,
you've given a far better explanation than I could, Tim. That is exactly what happens. Now, that's a microcosm of Gloucester's season. It's actually not that unusual for Bath this season. They've come back into get. Well, they won this game. They got 4 tries, bonus point win. They've done this before. They've come back from 15 to 20 points down on multiple occasions. So either other teams think they're a joke and give up, and then they kind of sneak back into it, or there is actually something to it. They've got some good fitness. I don't really know which one it is, but fair play to Bath.
Bath are Quins away, and Quins desperate to win. And then Saracens at home. Saracens may want to rest up, which they did this weekend. And as you said, because Sale didn't get the bonus point, Saracens have the ability to rest up.
Saracens just need to win one of the 2 games to guarantee top spot, which means a considerably easier game.
Yeah,
you don't want to finish second or third.
There's only one reason that Bath won this. Max O'Jomo played 12.
There we go.
There you go.
That's the end of the chat. I've just noticed there's a lot of emails about the Carl Dixon decision.
Well, they've got the definitive answer here. So.
Yeah, no. Hopefully that's been covered. I just didn't want to. I didn't want our listeners to feel like they've been overlooked. I have seen the emails, and Ed Fowler, for example, Will Morgan, Guy Van Groening, Harry Nye, Lindsay Gibson, so many.
Lindsay Gibson?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And also, I just got a WhatsApp just a moment ago from Steve, friend of the pod, Steve.
Good old Steve.
Chiefs fan. He says, never ever have I wanted to type some red hot vitriol into Twitter. Tigers were superior. They would have won. So let's drop sour grapes out of the equation. Dixon's decision was against. This is. It's like it could have been coming out of your mouth, Phil. Dixon's decision was against everything I love about rugby. You cannot apply every letter of the law, can you? Otherwise, a referee would just. Sorry. Otherwise, a referee would just stay stum and not warn people to stay on side. They would just whistle it. They would blow at every scrum feed and at most lineouts. And don't start me off about the breakdowns. Empathy and nuance is everything.
Well,
amen.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting very bored of this podcast. I wish we had a quiz or something.
Oh, that's a great point.
What?
Break it up. A quiz from friend of the pod and all-round good bloke, Ollie Poole.
Not all-round good nautical bloke.
Average nautical bloke.
Yes, actually, I've seen his sailing. It's dreadful.
If you would like...
Very good rower.
Terrible
what,
mauler.
What, actual rower or...
Actual rower.
Ergo,
Yeah.
ergo
Not
rower?
ergo. Not ergo.
I'm good at both erg and actual rower.
rowing.
But
I'm okay.
just wanted to check.
Yeah, I'm okay at erg. I'm bad at actual rowing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a skill.
Yeah.
Could you get in a boat with like 4 other guys, like a proper boat?
But I was a bowside rower for Exeter University.
Were you? That's pretty cool. So,
At
CrossFit
Henley,
story.
we got Henley got to the semi-finals of the Temple Cup.
That's
you kept that
cool.
quiet.
Lost to Cape Town University.
Oh.
That's very cool. So we've
already spoken about their the way that they supplement their culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Undoubtedly.
100%.
Exactly. So, not to make this about CrossFit, of course, but I've got some friends in CrossFit. I'm kind of a big deal, and one of them's like a really good rower. So I was like, Chris, do you think we could hire a boat and just like 4 of us just go and row?
Well, 3. You and 3 others. Oh, 4 of us.
Yeah, 4 of
yeah,
us.
sorry.
Right? Just go and hire. You could show us what to do. So absolutely not. It'd be a recipe for complete and utter carnage.
You'd catch a crab in 5 minutes and everyone would be out of the boat.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said you can't do it unless you spend hours and hours doing it.
Yeah.
So no rowing for me.
Not yet. Well, unless you put the time in.
There is nothing better than, and I only did it in the off season out of rugby, and a couple of the lads I was living with rowed, so I'll give it a go, and I just got really into it. And one of the addictive things is when you've got the glass flat water down on the river early in the morning with the steam rising off the river, sunshine's coming up, no one's about, and you're breaking that glass flat water with your blade and just...
Why do they do it in the mornings? Is it just to
I don't
avoid
know.
traffic?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because everyone's at work. I don't know.
Probably that, yeah. But it's always you're getting... And actually, that's the one thing. It's a bit like rugby, actually. Although you can not turn up for training if you really don't feel like it, and the training will still go on. But when you're rowing, if you're not there,
you're letting your mates
the
down.
whole boat can't go out because you need to have all 8 or all 4.
I've never considered rowing as even remotely. It's never something I've been even remotely interested in. Actually, do you know who's a great rower in the ranks of rugby?
Chris Bentley.
Chris Bentley's a great rower. Better than him. Retired last year.
Be a second row.
Yeah, and enormous second row.
Simon. No.
What's his name?
Simon Shaw retired.
No.
years ago.
Retired last year. Give you a clue. Played. He was meant to play for England.
Meant to play for England.
Never played for England, but he was coming back with a great fanfare.
Huh.
He's got a brother who plays in the centre.
Huh?
It's something really obvious that we're missing.
He's not that obvious, but he is a big name.
Oh, I know who. Simon Simmons.
Matt Simons, yeah.
Matt Simons. Because he was a rower.
He was a rower first.
And then...
He said he'd never
out.
been fitter than when he's rowing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
rugby,
yeah.
actively made him less fit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was... He was never... Well, he was talked up to be returning to play for England when he was playing for the Chiefs.
And nailing it.
And the Chiefs playing really well, but everything looks good from a distance.
It does well. He was good at Chiefs.
Yeah.
But the Premiership's a different beast.
Very much so.
And actually, to be fair to him, he did get his act together big time at Harlequins, and he was good at Harlequins. He just didn't really make it in
London Irish.
He lasted a year, did he not?
Yeah.
London Irish.
Wasps.
And Wasps.
Yeah, Wasps.
Oh, yeah.
Was.
Right, a
Anyway,
quiz.
Go on.
You need to put all that right. So, phones on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Get yourself a notepad or
Got
something.
my notepad open.
Roger that.
Now, 10 questions. I set the bar, so the bar is 8. Get 8 right, you're level with me. Beat 8, and you're
Honest
in the
Phil.
lead. I did this in real time as well. Anyway, first question, and as Poole says, a vanilla one to start. Everyone knows that Dan Carter has the record for being the top point scorer in rugby tests. I think we should probably caveat this by saying men's tests. But Poole hasn't done that. For our audience, I know
Bigots.
But whose record did he break? Is question number 1.
Okay.
Nice vanilla one, easy one to start.
Yeah.
Well, I had an interesting exchange with someone along those lines the other day. Talk about it later.
Yeah. Over a beer later. Question number 2. James Haskell. We spoke about his college days earlier, but...
School days.
He was suspended from Wellington College for hiding in a cupboard and filming a mate. His friend later went on to play professional rugby and was capped 6 times for England. Who was he?
Do you know this?
I do, yeah.
Of course you do.
We were talking about how weird that it came up on the podcast. Well, not in so many words.
Which clubs did he play for?
I've
got one.
I've got 2. I've got 2. 2 clubs. 3 that he played for. And I also used to see him, weirdly, he's one of those people that he obviously had a work pattern that was similar to mine, and I would quite often see him and walk past him at Euston Station.
What, when he was coming home from a late night? And you were doing your morning show?
No,
Very different work pattern.
When I was getting in around lunchtime and he was heading off on the tube, he obviously had a regular thing that he did on a certain day of the week, so I'd see him quite regularly.
Question 3. Mark Quater was tackled into touch by the narrowest of margins in the final of Rugby World Cup 2007. We've all seen that moment many, many times. But who was the Springbok number 8 who made the tackle?
That's a great question.
Number 8?
This is the question as written.
The Springbok number 8?
Who was the Springbok number 8 who made the tackle?
Jeez.
You're getting exactly the same questions that I am. So, and also I can blame any mistakes on Poole. Question number 4. During the 2011 World Cup, Mike Tyndall got in trouble for attending a midget throwing event. But who else disgraced themselves with some hijinks on that tour, and what did they do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is easy.
That's good, though.
What is this, a quiz for kids?
Question number 5. When Tana Umaga spear-tackled Brian O'Driscoll on the
Ruined
2000
rugby for a lot of people,
Lions tour, who helped him do it? Who helped Tana Umaga?
I know
That's
this
a
as well.
great question.
This is a good question.
Yeah, do you know, if only they'd have spear tackled someone who wasn't as good as Brian O'Driscoll, we'd be spear tackling for years afterwards. Cheers, lads. That is a good question. 'Cause everyone knows it's Tana, but I can't remember the other guy.
I got that one right as well.
What year did it say?
2005.
I'm just going to have to guess based on the year. Okay, all right.
Question number 6. Dean Richards lost his Quinn's job in 2009's Bloodgate. Who was he trying to get on the pitch?
Oh, I don't know that.
What year? Did it say the year in the question?
2009.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Question 7. Ian McGeechan famously selected Martin Johnson as the 1997 Lions captain so he could look down on the South African captain during the coin toss. Who was Johnson looking down?
Say again.
So McGeechan famously selected Martin Johnson as the 1997 Lions captain so that he could look down on the South African captain during the coin toss. Who was Johnson looking down on?
I have a name, but I'm sure I'm wrong on it.
I've got a name. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I've got a name. I've written it down.
Okay. Question number 8. Sonny Bill Williams received one of the first high-profile head contact red cards during the 2017 Lions tour. Whose head did he hit?
I know this one.
I think I know this one. I've written it down anyway.
Easy.
Let's go number 9 then.
It's an easy one.
Come on. I hope I beat you, Phil.
Freddie Burns' spell at Bath was notably marred by his dropping the ball over Toulouse's try line during premature try celebration. Which Frenchman knocked the ball out of his hands?
Yes.
I've spelled it horrifically.
I'm not. You're not going to look at my spelling.
Yeah.
Some of them are Yeah, you'll know who I meant with all of these.
Yeah, same. That's on Claire.
And last question. In Wasps v Quins fixture in 2001, Joe Worsley had the gusset of his shorts ripped and his scrotum split open by a rucking player's boot.
What was it? Read the question again.
Wasps versus Quins fixture in 2001.
Oh, okay.
Joe Worsley had his scrotum split open by a rucking player's boot. Interesting fact, Worsley played the next week and later revealed on the Rugby Club that this is because the scrotum is the second fastest healing body part.
After what?
What is the first... No, I'm joking. After the tongue. But which player, also an England international, was responsible for rucking Worsley's scrotum open?
That is so 2001.
2001.
Okay, so let's just go through...
I've heard this story a few times, so I think I know the answer to this.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
Shall we do some answers?
Yeah, it's that one, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay, question number 1. Who did Dan Carter overtake?
Johnny Wilkinson.
Johnny.
Correct.
Yeah.
1 point each. James Haskell's roommate.
And Tim's platform partner. Paul
Yeah.
Doran Jones.
Paul Doran Jones.
Correct. Yes, yeah, got it. Question number 3. Who tackled Mark Quaid to win touch?
Is it Robert Skinstad?
So my actually, if you see it written down, it says Davy Rousseau, but it's
Danny Rousseau.
Danny
that's a good
Rousseau.
one.
Danny Rousseau was number 8 for South Africa in 2007.
Is correct,
Oh,
Tim.
no. It's
3 from
disaster.
3, and I guess PSBs, so
That's
wrong.
ridiculous guess.
The question,
Bobby
if the
Skinstad.
question was which South Africa number 8 looks best with their top off,
Yes,
that was the correct answer.
definitely. Definitely better than Dwayne Vermaelen. Question 4.
Manu in a ferry.
Manu jumping off a ferry.
Correct.
This is a disaster. I can't believe it.
I've just had a total guess on this next one.
Question 5. Tana Umaga spear tackle
I guessed Rodney Soayalu.
Great guess. It's Kevin Mialami.
is correct.
Ah, good one.
Kevin Mialami.
There you go. We're all square now.
So we are all square because I got that one right as well. So we're all on 4.
We're all square.
4 out of 5. We're all
Oh God,
all
this is tense.
square.
This is tense.
Who was Dean Richards trying to get on the pitch during Bloodgate?
Nick Evans.
Nick Evans.
Is correct.
You got that one as well, surely.
I did.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. And who's he trying to get off the pitch?
Tom Williams.
Tom Williams. 7. I got this one wrong.
Now, I'm sure
South
I've got this
Africa
wrong.
captain.
I'm going to give it a go
2000.
anyway. Mark Andrews.
I guess Gary Teichmann.
Oh, that's a great guess.
Mark Andrews is wrong. Teichmann is correct.
Oh, no!
That is a great shout.
No.
It's because I was watching a video
Gary
recently.
Teichmann. Of course it's Gary Teichmann.
I was watching an old video of Ireland v South Africa for a little YouTube thing. I was watching Ireland v South Africa from 2000 and
Jesus.
I can't remember what year it was.
End my life. Just end it.
98. It was the one where they had a massive fight, the total punch up in Pretoria, and Teichmann was the skipper then.
Teichmann
Nice.
was excellent for the Dragons. Or Newport, I should say.
Question 8. Sonny Bill Williams.
I hate my life.
Who does he hate so much he shoulder charged him to the head?
Anthony Watson.
Correct.
And I expect you got that one as well, did you, Phil?
I did.
So
Yeah.
am I one ahead?
You are one
So I'm
ahead.
on course for 9 out of 10 at the minute.
You are. Freddie Burns, who knocked the ball out of his hands?
Clement Pratchett.
Maxime Medard.
Oh.
It is Medard.
Yes!
Why are you celebrating?
Poitrino.
What? I said Pratchett.
How are you celebrating? You just said Poitrino.
No.
Did you mean Medard? Have you
No, I
written
did
down
not.
Medard?
No, I did mean Medard. I did mean.
Tim is on.
No.
course.
I meant Pratchett.
Yeah.
I meant Pratchett. I don't know where that came from. I thought I was winning.
Yes, Medard.
No.
And
I'm done.
So you got that one then?
I got that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
As I guessed Leonard for the last one.
It is Jason Leonard.
Is it?
I've heard that story
Leonard.
before.
It is Jason Leonard. So I hadn't heard it before, and the only two
no.
Quins players around that era I could think of at the time
You were
were
thinking of Greenwood
Leonard or
and
Greenwood.
Oh, that's made it
it's
even
not
more
gonna be
satisfying
Greenwood.
to pick me by one in the fact that you celebrated thinking you'd levelled it up.
So
Yes,
it is,
Medard!
It's JB on 7, me on 8, and Cocker 9 out of 10.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do some...
Very good.
What's the button for...
M.
I'm going to do a bit of editing right now, so let's hear JB again in slow motion.
No, I don't want to... No.
You're going to hear it now.
Who knocked the ball out of his hands?
No.
Maxi Medard.
It is Medard.
Yes! No.
Very good. Right.
Thank you very much, Ollie Paul. And if you have a quiz that you want to write and send us, we will give you a big shout out. Appreciate it. Feature it on the pod. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com, which is our email address.
Teichmann and Rousseau were the two I missed.
That was fortuitous because I just happened to. I would not have guessed Gary Teichmann had I not watched the video very recently. But anyway,
other games: Quins hammered Newcastle, and Northampton. They did give him a bit of a hammering, although Duncan Taylor was red carded after 8 minutes, and it was very much a Saracens second team. It was pretty much an entire Saracens.
Yeah, and so I worked on this one, and the full time whistle.
Did you?
Yeah, the full time whistle. Both camps were very, very happy, and because Saracens got themselves a try bonus point in defeat and could have got 2 bonus points if the kick had gone over.
Yeah,
but really it didn't matter that they lost it, and they, as you said, they had an 18-year-old make his Premiership debut off the bench.
Okay,
who is that?
Nathan Michelot.
Who's Toby Knight?
Okay.
Toby Knight's open side flanker, youngster, I think 20,
and
21. Yeah, he looks all right. Tell you who did look good was, is it Ben Harris? Or what's his name? Not Ben Harris. What's his... It's a centre come winger off the bench. Looked really good.
Yeah.
Like the look of him a lot.
So
they changed 12 from the team that lost to La Rochelle, and they got close.
Ollie Hartley
looks good as a 12. He's from Wasps.
Oh, is he?
No, but Harris off the bench is the one that impressed me the most of their players. So, yeah, Northampton Saints will be happy. They got 7 tries and 1 comfortably, but they need to sort their defence out. They really do.
Yeah.
They just go to sleep at times. But focusing on the positives, if they can get into the playoffs, well, then they're going to get hammered by Saracens. But
yeah. Because the rematch of this, if they get in, they're only getting in 4th. Saracens are going to.
How did Trevor Davis? How did their scrum go? Out of interest.
Yeah, decent.
Because Trevor Davison, like a mid-season move, I think they're really looking for him to solidify things.
Right.
Lots of money for that guy.
They've looked for a lot of players, both internally and externally, to solidify things in the scrum. None of them have really worked. Having Courtney Laws back is a big thing for them.
Can we just... I just want to mention Courtney Laws because we're going to find out hopefully very soon that he's re-signed with Northampton. He's still contemplating his future.
Well, is it because he's got a 1-year option on his current deal? Is that right?
I think he's got another year on his contract, but he has an exit clause in it, so he can leave if he chooses to.
At the end of the World Cup, he can leave.
At the end of the World Cup,
or he can sign for 1 more.
He should leave.
He probably should, but you know Courtney, and he's like family and his kids and stuff come first, don't they? Like. As they do with most people, but Courtney even more so. He is all about those.
He's pretty happy there. He's got to move a lot of kids.
He's got to move a lot of kids, and they'll be settled in school. So I wouldn't mind betting he sticks around. Maybe gets a longer deal on less amount of money. But also, that's great for England because he's getting better. He's one of those.
I've not seen him for months.
We haven't seen him for months, but generally speaking, over the last few years, he's one of those rare individuals who is continuously getting better as a player, even up to the age of 33, 34.
And he has, I think he's upskilled himself or been upskilled. His handling now, he's always had the physical side, but his handling skill and his all-round skill and understanding and reading of the game is excellent. And he is an England captain. Having an England captain wearing a Northampton shirt is always useful.
I have genuine... not platonics, that's the wrong word, because I only know him to, like, again, we sort of brief chat.
Platonic respect. He's got a lot of platonic respect with me, so you can use that if you want.
No, I was going to say love. I have a lot of platonic love for Courtney. I think he is my favourite rugby player. I think he is.
He's absolutely class.
Quick one. Finn Smith hit 100 points for Saints on the weekend and scored his first try, which I think is quite quite some going considering he showed up 5 minutes ago.
He was hanging out on the wing, lazy, hanging out on the wing to score his try.
Yeah, needs some work rate. I think.
I'd say, so who I liked in this game, Freeman, class.
Yeah.
Freeman is class.
Hutchinson, when things break down, Hutchinson's a nice player to have. I like Dingwall. I think he's good, but he had a little look in with England a little while ago. He can play 12 or 13. He's always hard. He always tackles well, always runs hard. Like Dingers, and I really like Mitchell. Just again, because when it breaks down,
Mitchell.
He's such a dangerous player. Like, he's constantly looking for gaps for him or other people.
Yeah, they are Gloucester of the previous few years. They're 2 players away, and they're probably 2 forwards away. They're an incredible team.
They're like an inverse Gloucester, though. Weak up front, fancy in the backs.
Well, that sort of was Gloucester, wasn't it, for the longest time?
Yeah, now
I think
Gloucester,
of the Gloucester backs, they've always been pretty dynamite.
Yeah, I think actually they've still got some dynamite backs.
Not historically. Actually, when Gloucester were just dynamiting their backs and a bit weak up front, was going away from their traditional DNA. They've gone. George Skivington has reintroduced what Gloucester were always about.
Yeah, if you go right back with Gloucester, yeah, they've always been about the pack. When they won the league and the Dean Ryan, think about that a second.
God,
Christ, it's quite funny actually when they lost a final to Leicester Tigers. Is one of the reasons, well, one of many reasons. But a reason was because Leicester Tigers had the enormous
Alassana
Tuolangi and Sirimiah Bai. Remember him? Who sadly passed away a few years ago.
Oh, no, wasn't it Seru Rambeni?
Thank you. But they did also have Bai for a little while, but it was Rambeni. Well done. So then next year, they went out and bought Carl Price. Was it Carl Price that they bought?
Yeah,
they definitely had
Vinacolo.
Did they get Carl Price and Vinacolo at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we'll just get the 2 biggest lads from rugby league
guys who can play on the wing
and throw them on the wing and just see if this works. And it didn't work.
Yes. Well, Vinacolo scored 5 tries on his debut, didn't he?
3 tries on his debut. Or maybe it was 5. So I remember, of rugby league debuts, Cardiff Blues had Yeston Harris. He scored 3 tries on his debut. And I think the other guy that scored 3 tries on the debut in the same game was Jason Robinson's cousin. And he played on the wing. I think he might be in a league. I'm sure the 2 debutants for Cardiff both scored hat-tricks. He definitely did. Vinacolo got a hat-trick in his first game, I think. I don't think he got 5. I seem to think there's something else happened in that game. I can't remember what it was. And didn't Vinacolo at least get 1 try on his England debut?
Probably.
More than likely. So, yeah, they're Sinbad and Vinacolo, little and large on the wings.
Yeah. Weirdly, I was talking about. Oh, it doesn't really matter. It does not matter at all. Actually, it's boring chat about Simpson Daniels' brothers who run a biltong business. I was having this chat the other day. It doesn't matter.
According to Wikipedia, Vinacolo scored 7 tries on his debut.
No way.
Although I think that was a pre-season friendly. Against,
okay, fine.
Leeds Carnegie. Maybe not.
That's quite a lot of tries.
It is. I seem to remember reading, what's his name? Sean Edwards, his record try scoring when he's playing halfback for Wigan Warriors.
Yeah.
It was either 10 or 11 tries in a game.
Wow.
Again, it might have been Swinton
Christ, we've
Lionel.
not mentioned Chris Ashton.
How did we miss Chris Ashton?
Tops 100 tries today.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was very, very cool.
Very cool indeed. I've been keeping an eye on the top 14 lately.
Oh, do tell.
Well, it's just it's hotting up big time, and it is the premier club league in the world, and it is living up to it. And Toulouse and La Rochelle are first and second.
So tonight, is it Toulouse and is it Lyon go at it tonight?
Yeah, Toulouse beat Lyon 36-31.
Bloody hell.
In an absolute belter of a game. But it's really, really hotting up. So another great game. Racing 92-31, Bordeaux 28, and Racing scored their winning try in the 4th minute of injury time.
I love seeing people play in France who never quite made it, or came with the big reputations to the Premiership, and then never quite made it in the Premiership, but then goes to France and absolutely light it up. So for Racing, the guy who surprises me, and he shouldn't surprise me because he's a great player, is Francis Saili. So you see him rampaging through senses. Like, where was that guy for Quins?
And Munster.
Well, for Munster, he was great. But then
Well, he was injured a lot. But Bialo is the one that's doing great. Like we talk about England's tight head thing a lot, but Bialo is one that we need to keep an eye on because he's getting game time at Racing 92.
Yeah, it's cool,
in the
isn't it?
toughest league to be
And
a
he's
tight head prop.
also like 140 plus kg,
Yeah.
which always helps.
So I went on a sort of not a stadium tour, but I went with head of RAF Rugby, Paul Godfrey,
Yeah,
and we were
got
shown
us.
around the Wasps change room with Carol Vorderman on a match day. That is hell of a threesome there.
I remember you telling that story about walking round the Rico with Carol Vorderman.
Yeah.
Like, everyone.
If you want to know what famous is, Carol Vorderman's famous, beyond belief famous. Like everyone from my grandma down to the 18-year-old at Rugby Club knows who. Even younger, everybody knows Carol Vorderman. Do you know a single person who does not know Carol Vorderman?
I'll just tell you someone. Maybe I'll put the mics down for a second. I'll tell you someone who does know Carol Vorderman.
Oh,
Yeah,
fascinating.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
knows her very, very well.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Should I just mark that and make sure the mics were down?
Yeah.
Or nothing was hot.
good point. So yeah, top 14.
Hang on, I'm not finished yet.
Oh yeah, sorry, go on.
So we bumped into Bialo. He was warming up, like pre-game, and I was actually surprised he wasn't as big as I was expecting.
Really?
Not even close. I thought he was going to be an absolute monster because he had 2 or 3 games playing for Worcester, and he looked like, well, not in the business, but he looked like he could do a job. He went from Worcester to France, didn't make it at all, then came into Wasps, and then has gone to Racing. So it's interesting to see his progression through rugby because he was nowhere near ready at Worcester, outside of his scrimmaging, which is pretty good. But more power to him.
So just
Yeah,
when you
he's 29,
Yeah.
which is
prime age.
for a tight head prop.
So just when you
It's got a strange bind as well. I think I'll just add.
when you list these names and just think there's 4 rounds left, Toulouse and La Rochelle first, second, the hunt for the 4 other playoff spots, Stade Francais, Toulon, Lyon, and Racing 92 are all within 4 points of each other.
And
then Bordeaux,
who are a handy
Bayonne,
team.
Montpellier are also hunting that 6th spot that Racing currently have. Clermont probably not going to get there, but and they have relegation. Guys, they have relegation. They have 1 automatic relegation, which looks like it's going to be Brive, and they have 1 playoff. And Perpignan are in that spot. It's just exciting. And then in the Pro D2, I was just going to say, Oyonnax are running away with it at the top, which is where new Newcastle Falcons coach Alex Codling is currently playing.
What now? Alex Codling's the Newcastle Falcons coach.
He's going to be the new head
When did that
coach.
happen?
It got announced this week.
That is a strange appointment.
Formerly of Ealing and Quins.
Yeah.
Lots of other places where he's never seemed to have hung around very long.
So
And
was he a
now he's
player
in
at
France
Bristol?
currently.
He was a player at Bristol for a little while, was he not?
Among other places, yeah.
So, I feel he was, but I don't know.
Championship player quite a lot, I seem to remember.
So he...
Oh,
so he was meant to revolutionise the line out at Quins. It never quite happened for him. And he left under some weird circumstances, but I don't know what they were.
No, I don't know. Just speaking about players who were meant to make it in England and never quite did, and then go on to good stuff in France. Zach Henry.
Zach Henry's a great
Pow.
Pau and won the game for them.
Yeah.
They beat Clermont this weekend with Zach Henry pulling the strings at 10.
Do you know-
and Dan Robson came off the bench as well at 9. For
If
Pau.
you're going to be not very good for the Premiership, but happen to be great for the top 14, brilliant news for you.
Yeah, it's not a bad way of doing things, is it?
That's exactly what you should do. Well done, Zach Henry. Delighted to see him doing well.
Exactly.
I'll be loving that.
Yeah, so we spoke about Northampton. Quins hammered Newcastle. Very nice try assist from Marcus Smith, who set up Adam Ramwan, who actually gave the ball to Matteo Carrera. But other than that, it was pretty much all Quins.
Just a quick question, and maybe this isn't a good question, and maybe it's not true, I don't know. But why do you suppose that Premiership players who are good to average in the Premiership but don't necessarily light it up automatically goes to the not automatically, but often goes to top 14 and become stars? So I'll give you some examples. Carl Ferns, very good Premiership player, but it wasn't lighting up. It wasn't like the best 8 in the Pro 14, which is what he was for a few years.
Yeah, it wasn't in the Premiership. Wasn't the best 8.
Yeah,
which was
He was in Leon. He was in Leon in his peak years, and he had loads of injuries at Sale. He was
and Bath.
Bath
is where he
Bath
really
is the place.
Yeah, you're
where,
right. Bath's the place where it went wrong for him, and not through any fault of his own. That was
and I feel it's the setup of Bath, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like he got dropped for Burgess.
Wild, absolutely wild,
is absolutely nuts. And then Burgess, who played a little bit of back row, played a little bit of 12, played a little bit of 13.
Yeah,
like with just
Abendinen. That's another one who did very well at Claremont.
He did very well. Wasn't he European Player of the Year?
Something ridiculous. The Armitage boys, or Steph Armitage.
Yeah, both of them did well in France.
I mean, and the weird thing is, it seems to be there doesn't seem any rhyme or reason. So it's not like everyone like Carl Ferns goes and does well in the top 14. Zach Mercer.
Zach Mercer as well. Zach Mercer
is not like Carl Ferns.
He's totally different to Carl Ferns. But there is some consistency here in Abendinen, Carl Ferns, Zach Mercer, all linked to a dysfunctional.
What is it?
Totally dysfunctional club.
Something. Maybe Bath are terrible.
Yeah, it could just be that.
Yeah, let's go with that, shall we? But Zach Henry would be the other one.
Yeah.
So he's a legitimate Pro 14 player.
Yeah,
it just wasn't cut for it in the Premiership, which is odd.
Can we?
Dimitri Katrikalis.
I can't believe we got to this point in the pod, and Phil, you haven't mentioned Sedgley Park winning promotion.
One promotion. The Battle of the Tigers, Sedgley Park Tigers, hammered Sheffield Tigers by 80 points to something.
Goodness
Matt
me.
Riley scored 100 tries. Matt Riley
in one game.
Sedgley Park stalwart. He scored a few tries. Fantastic, really, really good. They have built something special. They've been playing some fantastic rugby as well. It will be interesting to see because the club has been there and higher before. I think you need to spend a bit more or have stronger links to academies.
Or a private school.
Well, now they're in National 1, you'd think that suddenly Sale becomes attractive.
Yeah, but Sale got FC.
So there's...
And they've got Coldy.
Yeah.
So quite a lot going on there. Well,
that is the problem.
I know what you're about to ask, Tim, so I'll save you the effort of asking.
Yeah.
But you're probably going to ask what happened in the Papa John's Cup
at
Newent RFC.
I was going to ask that.
And do you know what happened?
Big win for Aylesbury.
Game was
huge game for Aylesbury.
Come on, Aylesbury.
Who might be off to Truro in the next round.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Well, it's good to hear some teams are playing the Cup.
I think it's a worthwhile competition. I think if the game kept the laws exactly the same, the Papa John's Cup, and the way they've done it, it's got a lot of stick this year, but it's because it's got no history. And I think the clubs that play it and embrace it are going to get an awful lot out of it. I really do. Not often, when I say something nice about the RFU, you can guarantee there's something in it.
Did you read the post that Lee put on Rugby Draft about
EggChasers RFC
group, about the different WhatsApp group. One of the many.
and it goes along.
Sentiment.
The sentiment is similar to this email. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com from Mark Higgins, who says, "And great pod, blah blah blah. The RFU have royally messed up this season. Minimal rest weeks in the season with blocks of 5 matches, meaning old bodies. Brackets. I'm 40," says Mark. Harder to manage through, and my season ended on March the 18th as they cancelled our final league game as it was a dead rubber in favour of a cup game, which was then a bye. Fast forward 5 weeks, and we couldn't raise a team with everyone drifting away to, quote, summer activities, and it looks like we aren't the only ones. Normally we would have cup games interspersed in the season, and teams who want to go on cup runs do so. Those that don't either don't enter or pull out / field younger sides, and the older lads get more rest weeks within the league season. Not to mention we would still train, play, have regular presence down at the club till the end of April, sometimes early May. I think this is a really good point. Our last home game this year was March the 11th. This year has been stupid, and the screenshot from our side of the cup draw demonstrates that, and it's all home walkovers. I think that is a fantastic point.
Yeah, so
the 9 months of the season, which is absolutely essential for keeping the beer money coming through the clubhouse.
Let me push back on that a bit, right? Okay, so
what if you go out in the cup in round one? Even if you think this cup's a great idea, your season's done on March the 18th, not March the 11th.
I completely understand what you're saying. Now, all they've done is truncate the league. We used to have loads of bye weeks during. I guess with the bye weeks, you still got your second team playing, you still got your third team playing, so on and so forth. Honestly, the game we played against West Hartlepool, thinking back about it now, I'm gutted that we lost it. I never wanted to play that game. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to play. I've finished. But I played it, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
Let that be a lesson for your attitude generally to rugby. No, I don't want to play. I don't want to do it.
I'm not playing kids' rules. I will not do it. I will not do it, and I will not meekly stand by while they destroy a game. I'd rather have nothing to do with it. Anyway, I wish we'd won it because we'd have gone up to Cockermouth, and then you've got a weekend. I think then you go to Twickenham. Yeah, but we could have gone to Grasshoppers in London, and I think that I just think that it's a really good competition. I've been playing in the Northwest the same teams now, and I love playing that league. I really love playing that league. I love playing against Widnes and Aspel and Oldham and Tarleton. I really enjoy the standard of the league and the league in general. But then to face completely unknown opposition who are broadly your level and you have no idea what's showing up, it is great.
But yeah, no,
and you can't really do that in the regular season.
Well, why not? Well, because I'm looking at what Mark says and thinking that's a brilliant point that I'd not considered. That clubhouses being open on a Saturday, having teams playing games, putting the money through the bar is the lifeblood of a club.
It is, but there were so many walkovers in the actual cup anyway. Because I don't want another fixture against Widnes.
No. But the point being is if you have a home walkover in November, but the season goes on till the end of April. Rather than you have the home walkovers when the season's already done, and even if you get
the nights are lighter and it's warm,
people stay. So you're I agree with you that it's a nice idea, but if you tot up the cost in other terms, it could be significant.
Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is.
Have either of you read anything? I've not read a lot about it, but I've just kind of seen the headlines about baseball beer sales.
No.
So if anyone actually follows baseball, I'll be getting loads of things wrong here, but the premise is baseball have changed the rules so they shorten the game by an hour or so per game, which means some of the clubs reckon they're going to be losing several $1 million worth of beer sales across a season.
Wow.
Because you play a lot of games and it's basically less drinking time. So they've actually counteracted it by extending, I think historically it was a 7th inning cut-off for beer sales. They've extended it until the 8th inning, so your cut-off is later in order to counterbalance the beer sale. So you get longer beer, although it's longer but shorter, so that they're still getting the same revenue. But the only reason I brought that up is because it's the availability heuristic, because I only read it a couple of days ago. But also it's relevant because beer is important. Even to Major League Baseball teams, beer sales is sufficiently important that they've actually changed the cut-off. So it is important to local rugby clubs.
What does it say about sport in general, right? That sport, no matter how successful or which continent it is basically dependent on you selling enough alcohol.
Yeah,
that's it, isn't it? That's it. Yeah, he raises some good points. I don't disagree, but I just think that this cup, the way they've done, is the future.
I think the cup is the future. I do think the cup is the future. Yeah. I think they just need to find the balance of when it happens during the season, and when it happens during the year as well. Because having games into April is good for getting money behind the bar, but teams disperse.
But from a player point of view, the pressure is. I mean, we really wanted to win our league. We finished second. If we won one more game, we would have won that league, right?
Yeah.
Right, fine. But the pressure on you, week in, week out, to show up for the league games means that you just wouldn't show up for a cup game. I'd probably book a weekend away on that.
in a kids' theme park in Amsterdam.
But what's happened? So since your league finished when? In like middle of March? It was the last weekend. It was Super Saturday. It was Super Saturday. It was your last game.
18th of March or whatever.
So your season finished on the 18th of March, 1 week later than Mark was saying in his email.
I was quite happy with that.
What's Talk H Club been like since?
Because it's done, finished.
But you have football there as well.
Yeah, we've got footballers, we've got cricketers.
Right.
Like, it is a sports club.
If it was just rugby, you could understand that it might be there might have been an issue there.
Yeah, and I think maybe if that is the issue, because I've always said less rugby is more rugby, particularly for the pros. But if that is an issue, you have to think about ways to utilise your clubhouse, which isn't just rugby union. Maybe that's rugby league, maybe that's cricket, maybe that's football. You need to think of something, because we've got these great facilities and they need to be used more. Can
I give a quick positive rugby story from today? So I took Rafi Quirk's Broughton Park under-15s up the road to Liverpool St Helens, a good old Manchester v Liverpool rivalry.
Liverpool-ish.
Yeah. But we're the best team in Manchester. This is almost verbatim what I said to the lads at half time, because they just were still on the bus, still not really with it. Didn't perform in the first half. And I reminded them we are the best team in Manchester. Inside the M60, we're the best rugby team. And so think about the fact you're representing Manchester over in Liverpool and what these boys are going to think of you. Have a little word with yourself. And they went out and won the second half, but that's not the point. But the brilliant moment is, so about a month ago, we had a lad turn up. And like I said, the sort of way I think Broughton Park should model itself is we are Manchester's inner city rugby club. That's kind of how I think that should be our identity. And we had this lad who lives about half a mile from the ground, just off the parkway, which you two will know and understand, in that little estate there. Never, ever played rugby before in his life. Kamani, he's called. And his teacher just sort of suggested to him, you're quite a big lad. So have you thought about rugby? His teacher played rugby. Said, you think about it. And he came down, and he still doesn't really know the laws. But he's mucked in training for the last little while. We've been waiting to get him registered. And he played his first ever game of rugby today.
How do you go?
Awesome.
Well, he did himself proud. He didn't really look like he knew what he was doing a lot of the time. But what I was really proud of was how, even in a game which was tight and which the lads really wanted to win, it was just watching the other players constantly talking to this lad to help him through his first game. And I said to the other coaches when we stood on the touchline, we got a try late on to actually win it. But I was like, you know what? If we don't win, I don't care. I'm properly proud of that bunch of lads. The way they did that. It was just awesome.
Do you remember Keymore? He played with Broughton Park.
Yeah.
My God. So we had this guy who came from that estate. When I was playing, he must have just turned 18 or something. I remember nicknaming him the Hammer. Right? Little skinny kid. Oh my God, he would end people's lives. Like, just an unbelievable tackler. I don't know what happened. I think he got signed by Rochdale Hornets. He went from never playing rugby. Yeah, he went from never playing rugby to playing second team, and he just started levelling people. And then we got our first team debut on the same day. Oh no, our first team. I might have had I think I played my first team game against in my first season on the wing against Durham or something in the cup. But like the second time round, I got on the first team. Both him and I were late by an hour because the clocks changed, right? And we just didn't. I don't know how it happened. It just happened.
Before your phones automatically.
Yeah. I was just an hour late. He was an hour late. We both didn't play again for the best part of a year. He was absolutely phenomenal. And then Rochdale Hornets came and picked him up.
Wow, class.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's just like
What about him? Great player.
Yeah, and then when you connect with little stories like that, it's just rugby's an awesome
I had to sit with him for 4 hours whilst he was one of the hardest men I've ever met, because he's so small and he just used to absolutely smash people. And the only time I've ever seen him upset, like actually physically, in fact, the only time I've ever cried as a man from an injury was when I broke my jaw. I took myself to the change room and a little tear rolled down my face because I was in so much pain. It was horrific. Anyway, he broke his jaw, so I had to sit with him for 4 hours in A&E and then drive him back.
Oh.
The pain of breaking your jaw is just fucking. Excuse me, it's just horrific.
Never done it. Touch wood.
Oh,
never broken a bone.
Have you not?
No, never.
Breaking your jaw. To me, it was the most painful experiences I've ever had. Single tear.
Did you have to eat through a straw for a bit?
Yeah, I lost.
Yeah, I had eaten through. I didn't actually break it, but some bad damage.
It's so
It's
bad.
awful.
Well, I first hurt it in Bridlington. So it was a tour, Cornwall Rugby Club.
Why am I thinking this has got nothing? The jaw break is going to have nothing to do with playing on the
No.
rugby pitch.
I tried to get involved in a fight, right? So the first fight, we're on tour. It's under 16s, and the coaches allowed me. Have I told you the beer story?
I think you have told the bit.
Yeah,
story.
so I got a tenner off everyone.
Oh yes.
Went down to cash and carry, yeah, and then we made an absolute fortune off beer sales. So there was like a scrap in Bridlington. I thought, I'm pretty hard. I'll just go and level someone. So it all, this fight breaks out, and I jump up to lamp someone, and as I'm about to hit him, someone cracks me in the jaw, and automatically something just. It was absolutely horrendous. Couldn't eat. And the second time was in training. And do you remember Rich Jones?
Yeah.
I just landed awkwardly on his head, broke my jaw, and that was literally the most painful injury I've ever had.
Every club's got one of them. Every club will have one of these. That Rich Jones is one of those scrum half that looks like a prop.
No, that's Rob Jones.
No. Oh no!
No, that's Rob Jones. Rob Jones. That's the coach of MMU.
Oh yeah,
that's the Lancashire coach you're talking about.
Yeah.
Rich Jones was like 42 years old and absolutely stacked. Still one of our best players from Ruthin. He played in the team that beat with Rob Higgett that beats.
Oh yeah, so Rob Higgett, former Bristol, Worcester, Wales A. And I played with him at Bath University, and he used to talk about and even wanted to see him afterwards. If he ever got interviewed, like he's playing for, he's in the Bristol Matchday programme. They go, "What's your favourite game?" His answer was Ruthin under 15s beating Llanelli.
Yeah. So I played against him at sevens, right? Bearing in mind I'm from North Wales. He showed up at sevens team in Anglesey Valley Sevens. I was starstruck. I mean, he only played for Bristol, and they were in Championship. I'd never seen a professional rugby player before in my life. It was. I've got a special place in my heart for Rob Higgett.
Yes, he
was the only North Walian professional at the time.
Hell of a player. And was it? Yeah, in a university. I was in a university team with Rob Higgett, Bristol, Worcester, Joe Elabt, Toulon, Bristol, Bath,
Bordeaux.
James Hudson, Gloucester, Newcastle, London Irish, Nick Rouse, London Irish Sale.
James Hudson's not one to brag about, though, is it?
Luke, the Ruck Inspector, Luke Charteris, Dragons, Bath, Wales,
Racing.
Yeah, they were all in our
Perpignan as well, I think.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, definitely Perpignan. Perpignan got relegated, then he went to Racing.
And also in the same university team. It doesn't matter. I've forgotten the fellas' names. Doesn't matter.
They probably weren't very good.
In fact, Bucks is. Have you Bucks actually are doing a really good job of putting their games online and stuff. Quality's excellent.
It is brilliant quality. There's no choice about it. So I watch the progress of MMU now. It's interesting though, like where they get their players from. So because of the term time and whatnot, they get a few from UK. Obviously South Africa. Do you know the other area that they scout heavily?
France?
Holland.
Really? Big lads?
Yeah, big lads. Somehow the terms work and that's where they scout. There's a lot of interesting things that happen at
Interesting. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, just in terms of interesting things happening. US schoolboys being sent out to South African schools.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the supplemental culture.
We're back there.
100%.
Why do you look so big?
Games next week.
Yes.
Falcons versus Saints Friday night.
Saints.
I know you said it could be a Falcons win, Tim, earlier, but
Falcons are a joke.
It's Saints. Newcastle have nothing riding on the game other than they want. Well, even if they win, they still stay in last. But Saints going for top four. This does it guarantee them, or is it out? It's out of their hands.
No, it's out of their hands. Even if they get 5 points. If Irish
beat both Saracens
and
and Exeter. So, but it's Saints should win that. Then Saturday, Chiefs Bristol.
Yeah, probably will be sitting. Yeah, I don't know. I can see Newcastle winning that one. Anyway, Chiefs Bristol. Chiefs.
I don't back Bristol for anything.
Queen's Bath.
Just on Chiefs, we've not spoken about. I can't remember. You two might have spoke about it last week. Stuart Hogg retiring at 30 or 31.
No, I haven't spoken about it, really.
It seems a bit premature, partly because he could still earn quite a lot of money. Certainly more.
Could have taken his pick.
Yeah, he could have gone.
Even if the reality that he knows he's not operating at the level that he used to, which is what the reason he gave.
Yeah.
Even if he knew that, he could probably blag himself a really good contract anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if he's on, let's just pluck a figure out of the air. 300k. He could still get a 200k contract. Outside of rugby, unless he happens to get one of the very few media jobs, which I'm not certain he would do.
I don't know about that. I think he could do.
Why else has he been cultivating his hair and teeth the last few years?
Maybe.
I've got some ideas.
But it struck me as a bit odd. But watching him today, knowing that he's in his last 6 months of professional rugby ever, his performance didn't surprise me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As in a good or bad way?
In a bad way.
Yeah, I agree. He looks heavy.
Yeah, and
he looks sluggish.
And he was coming back from an injury. I know he's been out for a while.
That demonstrates to me a lot of honesty and integrity, actually, because particularly in Japan, he could have gone and played 8 games and picked up the same money he's been getting for Exeter this year. Yeah,
he should have done that.
Maybe should have done that, but I suspect there is something already in the pipeline.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably.
And sometimes there is a merit in taking that leap and getting out ahead because its timing's absolutely everything.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Because these slots, when they do come up in broadcasting, for example, don't come up all the time. And if players tend to get it when they're retired, maybe...
Do you know, though, a stint in France wouldn't harm his broadcasting career. The other thing as well is it's very hard to get a gig, say, for the top 4 URC, because there's only two Scottish teams and there's loads of Scots out there who want the gig. Like, you ask someone like Jim Hamilton, it's not easy to get those gigs because there's only a limited amount of... there's quite a lot of Scottish players, but there's only a limited amount of Scottish interest and a limited amount of Scottish games. So... I guess if he's got a BT Sports role or something, or if he can
Amazon or whatever,
or if he's working
BBC
within the Premiership, internationals, absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. But if it's just for Scottish rugby or something,
no, I'd imagine it'd be.
He's a 3-time Lion tourist, Scotland captain.
He's
won the Premiership and Europe. So
the best player from his nation in his playing lifetime.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's any...
So in that sense, he's comparable with Brian O'Driscoll and Sam Warburton, who are absolutely coining it. England is a different kettle of fish because the only people that were delighted England didn't win the World Cup final in 2019 were the winners of the World Cup final in 2003 because that preserved their legacy and their jobs for at least another 4 years.
Well, I think they're
100%.
safe for at least another 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 4.5 years for now. Yes, agreed.
But so I suspect there would be no shortage of offers for Stuart Hogg in the way that, like I say, Sam Warburton and Brian O'Driscoll get a lot of work.
Yeah, now, interestingly, both those two are very good at their analysis as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Hogg's not.
No.
I've just not seen it.
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a coaching type.
Yeah.
Whereas I could definitely see Sam Warburton coaching.
And O'Driscoll, they are both, they see things in their respective positions differently to a lot of people.
Do you know what I can say this, having worked with both of them on BT Sport, and I count it as an absolute privilege to have got to watch them work and chat to them, but I can tell you that the work ethic that made them two of the greatest players from the British Isles and Ireland... I'm upsetting.
Careful.
British Isles or Ireland over the last 20 years or so is the fact they work their nuts off. And Brian O'Driscoll turns up for a Premiership Rugby Cup semi-final on the weekend of that Ireland-France game, which he was working for ITV the day before. He turns up down at Exeter after that for the Sunday for a Premiership Cup semi-final, and he knows all about all the players.
Awesome.
And he's watched game tape, and he can do analysis. That's proper.
Fair play.
Doing your stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So we're all saying Chiefs will beat Bristol
and Quins.
Quins will beat Bath.
Sale will beat Gloucester.
Sale will beat Gloucester.
Saracens will beat Irish.
Yes.
Irish haven't played for 5 weeks, 4
It's
weeks.
been that long, 4 weeks.
4
'cause
weeks.
They've not played. Missed 2 weeks of Europe. Super Saturday, there's no games on, so they played 1 week. So they probably played 1 in 5, unless they had a rest week then.
They had a rest week, just the weekend just gone.
God,
Their last game. Let me just
Come on, Irish.
Let me check this. Their last game was
25th of March.
Oh, okay.
Was their last game.
Wasn't. So it will be 28 days, 4 weeks.
But they didn't play the week before. They played.
Yeah.
They played Premiership Rugby Cup the week before that, but it was a rested team. So the true first team they'll have had 1 in 5 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Wow.
There you go.
Great. Right. Thank you very much for listening. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. If you appreciate the podcast, go to patreon.com/eggchasers and let the boys play.
Let the boys play.